Esta es Tercera Llamada. Tercera Llamada. Comenzamos.
I do not know. If I look into it.
La libertad es una decisión. La libertad es ser dueño de uno mismo. La libertad es encontrar tu lugar. Es conectar, pensar, hacer, crecer, innovar para prosperar. La educación abre la puerta a la libertad. Elige ser libre. Universidad de la Libertad.
Good morning, everyone. Let's warm up, always. Yes. Maybe you warmed up in the traffic over here already. I don't know. I learned a lot yesterday. More about Mexican traffic was one. That I have a newfound respect for keeping time and knowing when and when not to get into a car. So thank you all for that. Welcome back, everyone. Thrilled to see you. Thank you all for a splendid day yesterday. It was thrilling. I was sitting up here up front yesterday, and because some of the backstory is that I live in Stockholm, Sweden. It's a long way here. I travel a lot. And I live in a house, like a normal house, but from Stockholm, north of Stockholm, I often fly out around the world, and I fly out early. So often I've got two kids, as you might have heard me say yesterday. So often late at night, I sort of tuck them in, give them a hug, because I'll be gone in the morning. And I say, when you wake up, I'm already in the air. And when I go, often I have a cab waiting at like 5 a.m. or something like that. And every time I get in that cab and it drives out through my sort of suburban neighborhood, and it's all dark, no one's up, no one's crazy enough to be up, I'm always thinking, like, why am I doing this? Like, why am I saying goodbye to my kids? Why am I up at 5 a.m. going to the airport, hanging out somewhere, waiting for a lounge, probably be delayed? You know the story, right? But then I was sitting here yesterday, and I was thinking, this is why, connecting with real people passionate about changing the future work and learning for the next generation and the generation we're in right now. That's why we're doing this. And it's really important that it gets done. And you are really the ones doing it, to be frank, not me. But that's why I'm so thrilled and honored to be in your company. So thank you for that. I think the conclusion from yesterday really is that we're not ready to accept that the future work and learning, the future for us in the middle of the working life, for the next generation, and for the people at the end of their careers, we're not okay with accepting that being designed by someone else than ourselves, or something else, like a system or a platform or an AI or whatever. We want to intentionally design what we think work and learning should look like, because we can, and we should. It's our responsibility to do so. We can have the future either be changed for us in some weird way, or we can let the human-centric values, which is in the walls of this institution as well, guide that design process. And I absolutely think that we should. One thing, apart from all the content discussion, by the way, yesterday, the most frequent thing I heard was how impressed people are with this campus and this institution. And I really think it's an institution, like I've said a couple of times, that is building the future rather than waiting for it. And, I was having a keynote for about half an hour yesterday, and then a student debunked the whole thing in 2 minutes. So thanks for that. I'm flying home humbled. But that was exciting, and that's just another proof of the fact that we should listen more to the young people, because they are not as unprepared as sometimes we think. Oh shit, we have to fix this for them. They go into really rough seas here, but they're going to be fine. They're going to be great. They're probably worried about us more than anything. one of the last sessions yesterday was about how a human-centric people culture and people strategy and talent strategy can have a tangible effect on a company valuation. And I think that's really important so that we don't keep these discussions too lofty and up in the sky, but it's actually fundamental for business right now to attract, develop, and retain key talent. That was the story about Dr. Squatch being acquired by Unilever for $1.5 billion. We had Jackie, the Chief People Officer, telling that story alongside VC and investor representation. And today, the first session of this morning is reconnecting to that. We're going to have a look at, if we talk about the importance of human-centric workplaces and creating these cultures, what are they? If we are talking about that, the importance of creating that, that's an academic institution, what's the culture like? If that is so important, how it's done, how can we take more practical steps to achieving it? So that's where we're going to start today as well, seamlessly connecting into the next piece of content, is how a radio presenter would have said it. So please, to introduce this panel, I am very happy and proud to say good morning to my dear friend Emir Sentinel from the Future Talent Council.
Good morning. Great to see you all. Before we start the session, I want to do a quick show of hands. I think Daniel summarized it so perfectly. This session ties up really well to what we discussed last night. So who here was a part of that session with Jackie and Pedro? All right, good. I see about half of the hands raised. That's awesome. Daniel summarized it really well. We'll continue the conversation with 3 rockstar HR leaders who are doing tremendous work in creating human-centric environments at their organizations. So I want to invite Christina Lewis. Christina is the Chief People and Operations Officer at C40 Cities. This is a global network of mayors around the world, and they represent about 1 billion citizens. And Christina is doing tremendous work there. So Christina, please join me on stage. We also have with us Diana Jeffroy. Diana is the Senior Vice President of Human Resources at Colgate-Palmolive. I was asking if she brought toothpaste for all of us, but it's on its way, so we'll wait for that. Okay, excellent. So please, Diana, join us on the stage. And lastly, we continue with our guests from yesterday. Jackie Scheinman-Holt, she's the Chief People Officer of Dr. Squatch, which was recently acquired by Unilever for $1.5 billion. Jackie, please join us on stage. All right, so I have 3 superstar HR leaders with me, so I will try to keep quiet most of the time. And I want to start with a round robin of definitions. Now, we've mentioned human-centric organizations. We have about 80, 90 people here. I bet we've got 80 or 90 different interpretations of that phrase. Everybody might have a different understanding of when we say human-centric. So in order to set the context on stage, I want to ask my panelists to define what does being a human-centric organization mean in your context. Christina, I'll start with you because you're sitting next to me.
Okay, thank you, Amin. Hi, everybody. Great to be here. I've written some notes, and now I've realized I can't read my writing. So anyway, to go back to your question. So I guess there's 2 things that stand out for me, and the first of which is connection, okay? I think as humans, whether it's work, whether it's personal life, whether it's at events like these, we crave connection, okay? That face-to-face, that contact. And I think that's really important that that shows up in the workplace as well. And I also think humanity is sometimes at its absolute best when times are tough, okay? So having a workspace where you can make mistakes and learn from it and move on, go to work on a bad day and know that you're in a safe environment and you can talk to people about that, I think those things really stand out to me. So connection and, yeah, having a bad day at work and it's okay.
Wonderful. Having the safety to have a bad day. Wonderful. Perfect. Diana, what about you?
Buenos días. Happy to be here. We are Colgate, so we are a consumer products company. So for us, having the consumer and their needs and their issues, understanding what they need and what our products can resolve, is what makes us successful. So for us, being human-centric is part of who we are. And we also translate that to our teams and to our employees. What makes an employee experience successful? Why people stay? Why people want to grow in the company? So the only way you can understand that is to take a good look and be close to the consumer, the employees, to understand what they need and how you as a company can work towards that. So that will be human-centric for us.
Excellent, thank you. Jackie, what about you?
Hi, good morning. Thanks for having me back. Well, building on what my two colleagues said, and I agree with their positions, I'll add development. And what I mean by that is an individual development plan, opportunities for people to learn in the capacity that they want to learn. Dr. Squatch is a small organization. We're owned by a very large organization, but we don't always have room for upward mobility for everybody. But what we do offer them is opportunity to learn and grow within our organization. And I think that's been a really key part of our success.
I'll do a unscripted question as a follow-up to that. Are the employees asking for that deliberately from you guys, from the HR team, to get that space for grow and learn?
They're asking, no. The short answer is no. The long answer is they're asking for upward mobility. They're asking for growth. They're asking to do more. Now, they don't always know what that means, so we defined it for them as an individual development plan, an IDP, and so they can come up with their individual goals about how they want to expand professionally. Then within that, some of you may have heard me say this already, there's a framework of the knowledge, abilities, skills that they need to have. So we gave them a framework of things they want to choose from. So strategy, for example, they want to learn more about that. And then we give them a framework to learn more about that. Sometimes it's something that's employee-led, sometimes it's HR-led, and for our bigger events in learning, it's externally led. And we tie that to the direct feedback from the employees and what they want. But to answer your question, I think it's something that we added. And it's been really successful to keep people engaged and happy and not just thinking they're going to get a promotion every 6 months or so.
Wonderful, thank you. Christina, my next question is to you, and Diana, I want to ask that same question to you as well. You mentioned the value of connection. You mentioned creating the safety to have a bad day, to be human at work. My question is a bit of follow-up to that. What's the one human, quote-unquote, human experience at work that you wouldn't want your organization to lose? And what do you think would potentially, accidentally, kill it if the leaders are not paying enough attention to that?
Yeah, sure. Very good question. So I think one of the things that's really precious within our working environment is around authenticity and being an authentic leader, which I'm sure we've all heard about that before. But what does that actually mean? And I think, again, being yourself at work, being allowed to make mistakes, turning up when you're not feeling great, I think it's really important, because authenticity is much easier to relate to, whereas I think perfection isn't at all. And so I think it's really important that as leaders we demonstrate those qualities and we demonstrate senses of vulnerability. And one of the ways we've kind of put this sort of into a practical realm. So we have built in, alongside your performance objectives, we call them goals. So you'll have obviously stretch goals, work-related delivery goals. You'll have development goals as well. And one of the other things, which I actually stole from another organization, so feel free to steal this as well, is a well-being goal. Okay? And so what this means is that goal could be anything from, like, I don't know, making sure you take your lunch hour, going for a walk, getting some fresh air, or it could be, having connection with your teammates, anything that's going to make you feel better. And I think it really demonstrates that your employer cares. It's part of your appraisal, so there's a conversation about it. And if you're not meeting your well-being goal, you're not ultimately performing. Yeah, there's something wrong. We need to look at that. And it's been a really successful way of sort of opening up a dialogue that's just beyond your task focus at work. So yeah, I think that's been a really important part of how we've built that culture. Because I think I work for a not-for-profit. We work in climate change. We're saving the planet, right? So there's lots of things that come with that. But one of the things that I notice in our staff is they will work and work and work and work. Yeah, we have to force them to stop. And actually, I brought in an initiative when I started where we have what we call a close down week in the middle of the year, normally at the end of July, and every single person stops work. It's on top of your annual leave, okay? We pick the week to make sure there's no massive clashes with anything. And when we first introduced it, everybody was horrified. How can I take a week? How can we stop? The planet is dying. Well, you know what? We can. And it's such an excellent initiative that we have. You have to make sure any likely people that are likely to send an email, like my lovely deputy CEO, I had to make sure, do not send an email, do not check your emails. You send one email, it will escalate to 7 other people and they'll reply to you because you're the deputy chief exec. So, and it's one of now our most valued and precious sort of well-being initiatives that we have. And it's great, and our cities that we work with support it, our funders support it, and I was able to demonstrate the productivity was not affected. In fact, it goes up. Yeah? And so those two initiatives, the wellbeing goal, the close down week, I think really say that we are putting our people first, which is one of our values. But yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you. Deanna, what about you?
I will say that the most valuable thing for us is to walk the talk. And we have 3 values: caring, inclusion, and courage. And I think when people ask me why people stay so long in Colgate, I always tell them because we take care of them. And you take care in different forms. You give them development. You give them challenges. You give them experience abroad. You take care of the well-being. So I think when a person feels safe and they have the psychological safety and they find that in an organization, that will definitely boost their creativity, it will boost their innovation, and people will be loyal to that organization. So I will say that is one thing that I think we work a lot with our leaders to keep building that trust and to just not have those values in a poster or in a nice presentation, but to walk the talk on those values.
Wonderful. Now, I want to get a little bit more specific, Jackie, and all 3 of you represent organizations that are deeply human-centric, that care about your team members. Could you give us one initiative or that's already active or that you're planning to enhance that human-centric environment at Dr. Squatch?
Yeah, actually, I'm going to change my answer to what I initially thought I was going to say to this, and I'm going to double down on wellness. I think that was a great point. It's something that I haven't brought up yet since being here. It's our wellness initiatives. We are in Southern California, we're in Los Angeles, but don't let that fool you. We're a very intense environment, and there's a lot of type A's, and we're a high-performance culture. So building on what Christina said, we're doubling down on wellness. So we have a month, like I said, dedicated to that. That's activities, I mean, forgive me, we are in Southern California, so we have like sound baths, and we have puppy parties, and all of this kind of nice to-do stuff. That's fun. But we've also added some tactical things that are really easy to do. WellHub, for example, which is just gym, kind of you can go to a gym or you can take a class online, and Headspace. It's in many different countries, and it's very easy to implement, and it's not super expensive. So we pay for that for all of our employees and their families. So just if you want a low-lift activity, those are a couple things. We do also hybrid workforce. That might be really practical at some companies and not at others. But within the hybrid framework, we also have flexibility on time that you are there. So we try to maximize flexibility for our employees, and the net effect has been that they have the closest thing we can get to work-life balance, where they go to work, they try to I personally do this. I try to leave early, like 2, 3, beat the traffic, go home, get back online. And that kind of ultimately leads into a good wellness strategy for us and has helped pump up performance.
Perfect, thank you. Deanna, what about you? Is there any initiative that you want to highlight? Any plans that's already active or that you're thinking about for the coming years?
I think sustainability and how we interact with our community. In the same theme as you, we have one day a year that the whole company goes out and do a volunteer activity. We have a nonprofit organization called Estrellas Colgate, where we receive kids, more than 300 kids every day, and we just spend time with them, we teach them values, they can train with us, and those are the kids that are not out there doing what they're not supposed to do. And it's amazing to see how our employees are attached to those initiatives. Because when you work with a company and that company purpose can match your purpose, that gives you meaning. You wake up every day saying, okay, let me go and work for this company that is doing something good for the planet or good for the communities. So I think to foster that interrelation between the purpose of the company, which is to provide a healthier planet and oral care for everybody, plus what employees want for their life, and that combination, that is one of the initiatives that we continue to have.
Excellent. And that's a good segue to the next question, because I wanted to also ask you questions about the recruitment space. Now, when we look at some of the data, there's one particular company that I follow every now and then. It's called Universum. They're an employer branding research company, and they publish the opinions of young talent, early career talent, graduates, and they do this with about 1.5 million students and early career talent every year. They ask them questions, well, what kind of companies do you want to work for? Why? What kind of things do you value when you think about your next employment destination? And according to these kind of research, there seems to be a trend, especially for younger generations, that they care more about going to human-centric workplaces. But I wonder, is that the reality that you see? And I'm curious to know, does being a human-centric workplace actually move the needle when it comes to recruitment? And is it the same for all levels? So when you think about early career talent or senior hires, is it viewed the same way? So just give a sense of, does that data reflect reality? What's your reality like in the recruitment space? And Christina, I want to start with you.
Yes, is the answer to that question from where I sit. So we're about 500 people working across 52 countries. So we're probably one of the smaller organizations who are here. But that certainly shows up in our recruitment processes. In fact, I'm tasked at the moment to turbocharge the recruitment that we do. And we are recruitment heavy. I think last year we recruited 132 new roles. And we get a lot of applications as well. So it's in volume as well. But the average age of our staff, I think it's around 32 to 34. And they are certainly interested in flexibility, well-being. We are obviously mission-focused, so they have a real interest in what we're doing, what our delivery is. But I would also say, sort of as I guess a bit of a side note, which we've been talking about AI a lot, and we do work in climate change, but there is, AI function has a significant impact on our environment, okay? Every ChatGPT conversation uses about 500 milliliters of water and so forth. Yeah, that's probably a whole nother session and conference potentially. So, we use Gemini, which is part of the Google suite, which we ascertained was probably the most sustainable, but that they want to know what we're doing about sustainability and our carbon footprint and how we're offsetting our flights. They care about the environment. Obviously, they've applied for a job in climate change, but I think that's quite generic through the workforce as well. But I guess from the other side of the desk, where we see people maybe not pass their probation or leave C40, it isn't around their technical capability. It isn't around their ability to sort of do their job. It is more around those softer skills, which I think that term sort of underplays what those
Human
what that
skills.
means. Human skills, right. So we work in a fast-paced, high-demand organization. We work with politicians, we work with very invested funders, and they want results. And so things like resilience, ambiguity, dealing with consistent change all the time. If a mayor changes their mind, we change our mind. We rip up the plans and we start again. That's just how it is. And even at the senior level, I think making decisions with not much information and being brave enough to do that is somewhere where I think people really struggle. And so when I'm looking at recruitment, so how do I assess this? How do I make sure that people know that they've got to use these skills and it's going to be part of your day-to-day work at C40? I think it's about perhaps bringing in more of their life experience as well, perhaps bringing in more of how they make decisions. Could be work-related, might not be. What's their decision-making process? How do we assess times in their life, which I'm sure we've all had, where we've had to be really resilient, right? And we've had to deal with massive change. Every single one of us would have done, whether we've moved house, whether we've lost a loved one, yeah? Or whether we've been through a divorce or a separation. You know, how do we sort of bring some of those skills into a workplace that's rapidly changing? I myself have been through one of those types of changes. And, you know, it gave me, my work was such a safe space for me to be really brave in it. And that change in my personal life gave me the confidence to do things I probably never would have done. Yeah? And so I know it sounds quite experimental, quite risky as well, right? We could be getting all sorts of information from our candidates as they come in. But I think we need to assess that human mind, their way of thinking. And the only way we're going to really do that is ask for examples and ask some challenging questions. So that's my plan. But if anyone else does those assessments on a low budget or is able to assess those soft human skills, I'd come and find me, talk to me, tell me how it's going.
We have an RFP, so there you go. Wonderful. And Deanna, what about you? Colgate is a big recruiter, not just in Mexico, but globally. So tell us what you're seeing in that space.
I will definitely say that 100%. These students are looking for places that are human-centric. Specifically, they want to continue learning. They want to continue having challenging experiences. We've been in Mexico for 100 years, so we have a reputation. So people know that if you go into the Colgate, you will have opportunities. And we have a very, very big internship program. We have more than 150 interns from all the functions. And just to give you an example of the importance that we give to this talent, we have a new GM, and he's been in the company in Mexico for 4 months, but he's been in the company for 28 years. And he said, I want to put in the list a meeting with interns, and we had that session last week. And it was amazing to see the reaction of the students, because he took time of his very, very busy schedule, but it is important for us to continue to foster this young talent, because they are going to be the future general managers of Colgate. And even if they don't stay, we have a retention rate almost at 31%, they will go and say, well, I met a GM and I learned about his journey and I get to ask questions. So I will say that definitely they're looking for learning experiences, they're looking for international experience, and they're looking to see what is the company doing for the benefit of communities and the planet.
Okay, wonderful. That's a great summary. Jackie, what about you? What do you see in the US these days?
Very similar. And I see that in recruitment, people want to talk to a variety of people at the company. It used to be that interview panels, you had to keep them, well, not the whole panel system, but the individuals involved in the interview. You wanted to keep that small. You didn't want to have somebody going on and on in the interview process, and I still believe in a short interview process. However, people want to talk to people at the company. They want to get a feeling for what we do. They want to know what our wellness initiatives are like. They want to know what our benefits are like. That's a big deal in the US. And they want to know about our sustainability. They want to understand our Clean for All Mankind platform, that's philanthropy. So I would say absolutely, I see this as incredibly critical. I just want to contextualize one thing. We're only 200 corporate people and 100 manufacturing, so we are really small. I know we were bought by a really large company, but we're quite small. So when it comes to attraction, we have to work really hard to make sure that we're getting the right talent to come into our organization, and they care deeply about the human experience at Dr. Squatch and the events and learning that go along with that.
Wonderful, thank you. Now, as we wrap this conversation up, I want our audience to leave with one thing. So you've been in the HR space working with talent for a long time. So what's the one takeaway that you want to leave them with? And then if there's also any caution tale that you want to highlight, pay attention to this, otherwise it might get you into trouble. Either one is very valuable, so I'll start with you again, Christina, and then we'll do a round robin.
Okay, so I've kind of mentioned this, but I really think it's so important, and it seems so simple and it seems so basic. But just really to show up as yourself, as a leader, I think it's so important. And when you work globally, I noticed that different cultures and countries kind of approach leadership in a different way. Places where, you know, the seniority of your job title can be quite daunting, and people's manner and tone will change with me at times. And I think, so one way I try and address that is I try and put us all on the same playing field. So quite often, as I'm sure all of you do, you know, I get presented with some huge, messy problem that I need to find the answer to in 30 minutes, yeah, or at least a way forward. And, you know, I sit there and I think, I have no idea how we're going to sort this one out. But, and I will actually say that. I will say that back. You know, I really don't know the answer. I've not been in this position before. But you know what? We're going to sit, we're going to work through it, and we're going to come up with a plan, and we'll deal with it together. So that kind of feeling of approaching a problem together, and just sort of taking away any hierarchy that's there. C40 would describe itself as having a flat structure, but it's not, you know, and I think as leaders, we have to break down some of those barriers. So I would encourage you, use your vulnerability. If you had a terrible morning and your car wouldn't start and you've spilt coffee down your white shirt, tell people about it. And because again, I think that authenticity is so relatable, but perfection isn't. Yeah, perfection is that thing up there that nobody can quite reach. So that's what I would say. So stop trying to be perfect and just show up as your brilliant self.
Wonderful, thank you. Diana.
I would say go back to your first job. Go back to that person who inspired you, that person who makes you dream, and do the same for another person. When we talk about culture, we think it's something that is in the environment. We build the culture. The culture is built by people. So if you do something good for another person and that person do something good for another person, it replicates, and that's how you build culture. And in terms of what to avoid killing new ideas. The world is changing too fast. And sometimes, because we are successful, we tend to say, well, no, that may not work, or this is not a good idea. So be open to the new. Be open to new ways of doing things, and reimagine yourself every day. I will say that.
That was inspirational. Thank you. Jackie.
Definitely building on that, I completely agree. Allowing failure, so to speak, is innovation. There's no innovation without some missteps. So allowing yourself to take missteps. I personally love a winding path in a career. I think that is completely fine to go one place and decide that's not for you and go to another, or try different career paths. I think that's actually incredible experience. I think that one of our values is bold and innovative, and you can't do that if you're in an environment where failure is like squished or opportunity is squished or taking a chance isn't supported. I'm not saying, consistent failure constantly, but if you have a big, bold idea, do it. And if it works, excellent. If it doesn't work, take the learning and move forward. And I think that's one of the most important things that we've done. The second thing, some of you have probably heard me say it before, is if you don't have the right people in the role, it is fine to exit them. Please do exit them, because it is just not healthy for an organization to have somebody who's kind of not contributing to the team in a meaningful way, or isn't intentionally, even worse, intentionally kind of undermining progress. But assuming that you've got all the right people in place, allow them to fly.
Wow, thank you so much. This was inspirational, and I hope that our audience found this productive and insightful. We have time for one or two reflections, questions, thoughts. It doesn't have to be a question, it can be anything, and I already see my colleague raising a hand over there, so we'll check. Is there any possibility for a microphone? Otherwise, I'm happy to share my microphone. No?
Thank you so much, Christina, Diana, Jackie. I love your speech. I want to know, in your experience, in your point of view, what ethical framework do you recommend to employers in this AI era?
You want me to take that? Yeah.
For all, in your experience.
Yeah, so for us, it all starts with training. Nobody, for example, in the company can use AI without going through a legal framework of AI. Because there is a lot of exposures, there is a lot of situations where you can get the company and yourself into problems. So I think the first thing you have to do is to train people in the do's and don'ts. Every new technology has good things and not so good things. So I will say that you have to train people and just make them aware what they can do and what they cannot do.
Yeah, I would certainly second that as well. And I think there's a law coming out this year from Europe around AI governance and compliance, especially when we're looking at personal data, etc. So again, we have training, we have a policy, and even with my sort of workforce who are very experimental, they're relatively quite young, there's still quite a lot of resistance, I think, and they don't trust it. Yeah. So one of the things we have done, we automated our induction using LM Notebook. So we made like 180 long page policies into a 20-minute podcast, right? Which I thought was really accessible. You can listen to it on your way to work. For someone like me who has the attention span of a goldfish, like a podcast is much more attractive than a long document. But even then, I think people are quite suspicious of it, or they don't quite trust it. They want to read the policy as well, just in case. So, I think, the training is critical. But again, I think it's getting people's confidence up as well, and knowing that it's there to supplement, not take over.
Basically, create clarity. I think that's what we're saying. I was asked since I've been here what our AI policy is, and it's loose. It's not super clear. We need to index harder on that. We need to create real, meaningful clarity about how to use this tool, when and where, and we're really just at the very front end of that.
Perfect, agreed. Well, I hope this answers the question. And thank you all for your attendance, for your participation. I hope you found this useful, even if it made you think a little bit differently about building a human-centric organization. That's a huge win for us. And so I want to thank all of my wonderful panelists for their thoughts. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Wow. Thank you. Oh, I can just drop it. Thank you so much. Thank you. Great work. That was phenomenal. Oh, I always get nervous when people start running up on stage. I'll tell you a little story just briefly. A couple of years back, I was on a call with IBM. Oh, shit. Yeah. I was not going to say the name. It was an American IT company. And they told me, a couple of executives told me that we don't think we need the educational sector anymore. We can just scrap the universities. We'll get in the 16-year-olds here. We'll give them a professional certificate in HTML at the time, and then we'll get them jobs, right? And I said, well, okay, what kind of skills do you think they'll need in 5 years, or a bit longer? Now, well, we don't know that yet, but that'd be great, right? And I think, it's sort of a funny story now, but it serves as a reminder of the fact that we have to keep the perspective, right? Because now, imagine that you thought that HTML was the only thing you ever have to learn. Today, that's pretty ludicrous, right? So this notion of creating global citizens able to adapt and learn and be flexible in terms of whatever reality that they're going to be facing seems like the only skill and ability with longevity. So I think we should have probably more academic institutions, not less. And I also never liked this notion of a university being a place outside of town with a great building that you visit a couple of years when you're in your 20s and you leave and you never come back. Apart from sometimes when you donate, but why? We need more knowledge, not less. So I am much more a proponent of the fact that we have academic institutions that you go in and out of all the time. We need more knowledge and learning, not less. And these institutions are built for it. So rather than taking them down, I think we should probably make sure that we all come around more often. With that, we're going to talk about lifelong learning and really building this intentional lifelong learning. Because again, if there's anything we know is the fact that, and like I said yesterday, people like me thought we were done and had it all figured out, but it turns out we have more transformation and pivoting ahead of us than behind us. So the lifelong learning aspect of not us as only professionals, but actually as human beings, is becoming more and more critical. And I think we need to find a system where that really works and is closer to us than just happen to stumbling across a course once in a while. So I'm very happy to present to you José Carlos Universidad Libertad, Paulo Belosa, or Arturo Longares. Welcome up.
Hola, hola.
Muy buenos días, un gusto estar aquí. Gracias, Daniel. Vamos a hacer esta mesa en español, ¿qué les parece?
¿No iba a ser en sueco?
Bueno, pues podemos...
¿No? Para que Dan nos pueda entender.
A ver, a mí me gusta siempre como dejar muy claro el objetivo. Esta va a ser una reflexión, vamos a compartir ideas. Si tenemos suerte, estas ideas pueden tener resonancia en ustedes, esperemos que así sea. Intentaremos tener una charla lo más fluida posible. Yo detonaré algunas preguntas y haré algunas reflexiones previas para poder enmarcar la charla. El título parece un poco o puede ser un tanto poético. Me gustaría aterrizar más los conceptos, ¿no? ¿De qué hablamos cuando hablamos de learning landscapes? Sin duda, el conocimiento ahorita es un ecosistema sin fronteras, muy amplio, con una oferta inmensa, digamos, que la profusión de contenidos y de posibilidades de aprender pues es inmensa. Estos escenarios o paisajes, por supuesto, que empiezan desde la familia, que es fundamental, luego la escuela, luego el trabajo. Pero ahora ya tenemos la fortuna de poder recurrir a una inmensa cantidad de recursos de aprendizaje para ser mejores personas, digamos, nuestros hábitos, para poder hacer mejor jardinería, para poder, digamos, aprender a entrenar a un perro o para poder tener mejores herramientas y habilidades en el trabajo, por ejemplo, ¿no? No es un problema ya de contenidos, más bien me gustaría centrarme en el otro elemento que está en el título, que es el aprendiz intencional para toda la vida. Porque la cuestión está ya más en el sujeto que aprende. Este sujeto que aprende pues está lleno de estímulos, está en un espacio de una inmensa abundancia de contenidos y por lo tanto tiene que dirigir con mucha precisión su atención y su concentración, porque si no, pues corre el riesgo de extraviarse en el mar de la abundancia, ¿no? Entonces, digamos, desplazamiento del objeto del conocimiento al sujeto que conoce, me parece que es fundamental para poder enmarcar la discusión. Y ya para dejar de hablar y empezar la plática, me gustaría señalar dos paradojas que se me hacen fundamentales de la actualidad. Personalmente creo que nunca habíamos tenido tantos recursos para el aprendizaje, pero nunca había sido tan difícil sostener la atención para hacerlo, para aprender. Algunos datos, por ejemplo, de Gloria Mark, en el 2016 hizo algunas mediciones y teníamos una capacidad de concentración, digamos, en dispositivos digitales, más o menos de 2.5 minutos, muy poco, muy breve, ¿no? Ahora, en el 2021, que se volvió a hacer el mismo control con la misma población, bajó a 47 segundos. Es decir, ahorita nosotros vemos un video que dura más de 1 minuto y ya sentimos que es largo y queremos pasar al siguiente, ¿no? Por otro lado, yo no sé si ustedes saben, pero la industria de los cursos en línea es de 26,000 millones de dólares. O sea, la cantidad de cursos en línea que es abrumadora. Pero ¿saben cuál es la tasa de terminación de los cursos en línea? Échenle. Es entre el 5 y el 10%, ¿no? Entonces, sí hay mucha gente que empieza los cursos, pero muy poca que la concluye. Entonces, no solo es una cuestión de atención, sino también de compromiso con el aprendizaje. Solo el 30% de los empleados en los corporativos busca cursos en línea de manera voluntaria, no impuestos por el espacio de trabajo. Y de esos 30%, solo el 20 o el 10% reportan que pueden aplicar o cambiar comportamientos en el espacio de trabajo. Estas son fuentes de LinkedIn Learning Report y de otras asociaciones serias. Entonces, esa es la primera paradoja. La otra, que me parece muy interesante y preocupante también, es que nunca tuvimos respuestas tan rápidas y nunca fue tan necesario aprender a dudar. Ahorita ya nos aproximamos a tener respuestas de todo. Me encantan esos memes de apenas pasa algún fenómeno, ya van a salir todos los especialistas en ese fenómeno, ¿no? O sea, tenemos una necesidad de llenar el vacío con opiniones no informadas, ¿no? Y también la rapidez de dar respuestas mediadas siempre por la inteligencia artificial. Entonces, también este tema que se conoce como el cognitive offloading es que tenemos una tendencia natural ya a delegar nuestro proceso cognitivo de racionamiento a las plataformas y a las inteligencias artificiales, pero también a la desinformación que hay en las redes, ¿no? Corremos el riesgo de que la inteligencia artificial o estos lenguajes, los LLM, no sean herramientas que nos llevan a pensar, sino que piensen por nosotros, ¿no? Es un gran riesgo. Por otro lado, en un estudio que se hizo en unas encuestas a profesores universitarios en Estados Unidos, una muestra más o menos de 2,000 docentes, manifiestan que el 90% de los estudiantes, ellos perciben que el 90% de sus estudiantes han disminuido de manera radical el pensamiento crítico a raíz del uso de la inteligencia artificial. Y también observan que un 95% está experimentando una dependencia excesiva a la inteligencia artificial para poder pensar, ¿no? Entonces, pues es un escenario realmente que nos debe preocupar. Bueno, entonces esto lleva, digamos, como a reflexionar sobre que el aprendizaje hoy se define más por la intencionalidad del aprendiz y por la concentración del aprendiz que por la accesibilidad a los contenidos, ¿no? Y que el aprendizaje pues no ocurre de manera natural ni automática, no ocurre sin intención, sin estructura, sin esfuerzo. El aprendizaje tiene que ser deliberado y el aprendizaje requiere mucha energía. Entonces, bueno, con este marco, ¿no?, que quizá pueda ser un poco, yo no pensaría si es optimista u optimista, creo que es parte de una realidad que hay que verla de frente, ¿no? Me gustaría pasar algunas preguntas. Es un placer estar con ambos. Pablo es un humanista, es un intelectual, es una persona que tiene un conocimiento muy profundo de la cultura, de la cultura clásica, de la literatura, y es un autodidacta, se ha construido, digamos, su propio bagaje, su propio conocimiento. Y creo que es muy rica tu participación desde esa perspectiva. Y Arturo Longares, con quien he tenido la fortuna de colaborar con ambos, es un químico de formación, pero trabaja desde hace tiempo en corporativos, entonces tiene una experiencia, digamos, muy vasta y muy rica del aprendizaje que se da en los entornos laborales. Entonces, bueno, me gustaría empezar con algunas preguntas, Pablo. Desde tu experiencia autodidacta, ¿qué habilidades, qué competencias y también qué rasgos de carácter, ¿no?, te han permitido seguir aprendiendo a lo largo del tiempo, independientemente de los contextos, del cambio de contextos o del cambio de tecnologías?
Gracias, José. Es un enorme gusto estar contigo y con Arturo. Cada vez que converso con ustedes aprendo mucho. Seguramente hoy también será el caso. Bueno, en mi caso sí, efectivamente yo me formé sobre todo con los libros. Cuando yo era un niño faltaban muchas cosas en mi casa, pero por fortuna no faltaban los libros. Y de ahí, digamos, me he formado sobre todo gracias a la lectura. Pero como todos los educadores, pues corro el riesgo de asumir que lo que me sirvió a mí es lo que le va a servir a los demás. Y creo que no debemos caer en esa tentación. El hecho de ser autodidacta tiene ventajas y también tiene muchas desventajas. Creo que la ventaja de una buena educación universitaria como la que ofrecemos aquí en la UL es que te ofrece un panorama mucho más completo, mucho más redondo, que si solo te guías por la curiosidad o por la necesidad, como fue en mi caso, y que estoy lleno de lagunas enormes en muchos conocimientos y habilidades.
No te preocupes, yo también pasé por la universidad y las tengo.
Pero no pasaste por esta universidad. Entonces, digamos, eso sería lo primero. En cuanto a lo que es, digamos, el carácter, la formación, el temperamento, pues yo no sé qué tanto pertenezca a qué tanto, pero sí me gustaría recordar algo que decía el filósofo Nietzsche, Friedrich Nietzsche, antes de volverse loco. Él decía, cuando tienes un porqué, puedes soportar casi cualquier cómo. Entonces, lo más importante es tener un porqué, es tener esa motivación para aprender. Si tú no tienes esa motivación, sí estás en problemas. Cuando tienes esa motivación, ya tienes lo más importante. Entonces ya el resto es un problema, digamos, de instrumentación, de cómo puedes conseguir tus metas. Esto se ve no solo en el aprendizaje, yo lo he visto en los empresarios. Los que salen adelante es porque tienen un porqué, ya verán cómo le hacen. Pero lo más importante es tener ese deseo de conseguir tus metas. Yo, por cierto, también, aparte de haber aprendido muchas cosas en los libros, tengo, al contrario que muchos académicos y muchos lectores, escritores, tengo la ventaja de haber trabajado en una gran empresa de panificación cuando era muy joven, en Bimbo, y después de haber dirigido 2 pequeñas empresas. Y eso me ayudó a poner mucho los pies en la tierra, que es un defecto que suelen tener muchos académicos, que digamos se pierden en el mundo de las ideas, y yo siempre he tenido que regresar al planeta Tierra, ¿no? Y eso me ha enseñado muchísimo. Para mí ha sido tan importante mi experiencia profesional en empresas como mi experiencia intelectual en los libros. Pero insisto, lo más importante es tener un porqué. Y cuando hablas de tener un porqué, ya estás hablando de motivación, y hablar de motivación es hablar de deseos, y hablar de deseos es hablar de personas, no de inteligencia artificial, sino de personas. Y eso creo que es importantísimo. Ahora, el reto más grande al que nos enfrentamos, ya lo señalaste, José, es el reto de la atención. La atención, como dice Gavin Jude, el director de Humanitree, nuestra escuela hermana que ocupa otro piso de este mismo edificio, la atención es un superpoder. La diferencia está en que los superhéroes entran a una cabina telefónica y en un 2x3 salen y ya son superhéroes. Y el superpoder de la concentración funciona como un horno del Paleolítico, porque eso es lo que es. Es un cerebro del Paleolítico con tecnología de nuestro tiempo. Y un horno del Paleolítico tenía que pasar mucho tiempo antes de alcanzar la temperatura óptima que sirve para, no sé, para hacer cerámica o muchas otras cosas. Y lo mismo pasa con nuestro cerebro, con nuestra concentración. Entonces necesitamos dedicar más tiempo continuo a concentrarnos en un mismo asunto, porque solo de esa manera nuestro cerebro llega a su nivel de rendimiento óptimo. Si no alcanzas ese tiempo de concentración, nunca vas a saber de qué eres capaz tú mismo, de qué es capaz tu propio cerebro de producir. Dicen algunos estudios que cuando estás muy concentrado en una tarea y de pronto te distrae algo, casi siempre va a ser tu teléfono celular o cualquier otra cosa doméstica, tardas hasta 23 minutos en recuperar nuevamente ese nivel de alto rendimiento que puede tener tu cerebro cuando alcanza su temperatura óptima de funcionamiento. Entonces lo dejo solo porque a veces tu teléfono te ofrece la cifra de cuánto tiempo estuviste en tus redes sociales. No es solo ese tiempo. Si vas a dedicar, no sé, 2 horas a tus redes sociales diarias, que ya me parece muchísimo, o lo que dediques, trata de que sean continuas y de que no interrumpan tu concentración. Perdón, sí.
No,
con
buenísimo.
eso termino.
Un comentario me gustaría como refrasear a Nietzsche de la voluntad del poder a la voluntad de aprender, ¿no? Y con respecto a la cuestión de la atención, estuve revisando los descubrimientos del neuropsicólogo, ¿no? Un científico, digamos, cognitivo, Vinod Menon, que tiene un laboratorio en Stanford y ha realizado algunos descubrimientos importantes. Y él habla de esta red neuronal por defecto, ¿no? Que es una red neuronal que el estado basal es la divagación, la dispersión, la imaginación, la introspección. Y la otra red que entra es la de la concentración. Pero nada más que la concentración requiere inmensas dosis de glucosa. Requiere mucha energía para que estemos concentrados.
La prueba es que un campeón de ajedrez pierde hasta 2 kilos después de una partida larga de ajedrez, ¿eh? Sin hacer ejercicio físico, solo mental, perdón, lo apunto.
Así es, entonces, y hay un switch que lo que hace es activar una red neuronal u otra, ¿no? Entonces, lo que pasa es que ese switch está vuelto loco en la actualidad, ¿no? Porque tú tienes cierta capacidad de estar concentrado durante determinado tiempo y luego es necesario que entre la red neuronal de la dispersión, de la imaginación, muchas veces en la resolución de problemas, no es de manera lineal, ¿no? Estamos inmersos en el problema, pero nos tenemos que salir a imaginar y de repente estamos bañándonos o estamos en el súper o estamos paseando al perro, eureka, cae la solución de ese problema. Es justamente por estas dobles redes neuronales que intervienen en distintos momentos. Las dos nos hacen muy humanos, ¿no? La de la introspección y la imaginación también está siendo cancelada, como la de la atención, por este continuo switch de los aparatos. No nos logramos concentrar del todo porque agarramos el aparato, sentimos la necesidad, lo sacamos y empezamos a ver, y tampoco logramos estar imaginando y en la introspección y la importancia del aburrimiento, por ejemplo, ¿no? Entonces, pues es un tema de dejar ese switch, trabajar como siempre ha trabajado, ¿no? Arturo, desde tu experiencia en el mundo corporativo, ¿qué capacidades humanas has visto que se mantienen relevantes a lo largo del tiempo, de las décadas, incluso cuando los roles o las tecnologías se vayan modificando?
Sí, gracias. Quiero puntualizar algunas cosas de lo que estaban diciendo. O sea, sin duda ya no es un mundo con fronteras, como habíamos dicho, en el tema académico y en el tema laboral. Cada vez más se está desdibujando. Y sí quiero hacer una puntualización aquí, hasta una celebración a mi querido Jorge, el rector de la UL, porque esta es una universidad en donde verdaderamente quiere incorporar ambos mundos de una manera correcta e integrada, ¿no? Y no nada más que haya como estos bloques, ¿no? En donde te educas y luego ya brincas a la parte laboral y demás, ¿no? Me parece que cada vez más hoy en día ya se van desdibujando esas fronteras, ¿no? Ahora, también me parece que son los individuos los que tienen que tener un propósito claro que los tira de la cama y que los hace ser únicos y los hace ser humanos en ese sentido, ¿no? Y de ahí, entonces, deben de encontrar su propósito de vida. Y ellos se meterán a trabajar, ya sea en una empresa o en su propio emprendimiento, en función del propósito que estén buscando. Entonces, sin duda, el propósito es lo más humano que tenemos. Segundo, yo ya te diría que a lo largo de todos estos años corporativos que llevo, pues sin duda el tema de la empatía, o sea, el tema de la empatía que existe entre los seres humanos, ¿no? Me quedé pensando en que hay cosas que la inteligencia artificial y toda esta tecnología nunca nos va a quitar y que nunca va a tener, ¿no? Y son los adverbios y los adjetivos. O sea, la inteligencia artificial nos arroja respuestas, pero sin adverbios, sin adjetivos, no nos dice que es bonito, no nos dice que es bello, no nos dice lo que es espléndido. Y eso solo lo obtienes aquí, eso lo estamos obteniendo aquí, se siente, ¿no? Y bueno, esperemos que nunca pasen sustituciones tecnológicas hacia estos sentimientos. La verdad es que lo dudo, porque si no, entonces estaríamos dejando de ser humanos, ¿no? Sin duda, eso es lo que yo creo. Entonces, en el tema de las empresas, pues lo que no debe de cambiar, y la pandemia fue un gran aprendizaje, pues fue la interacción humana. O sea, sin duda la tecnología nos abrió un montón de puertas para poder interactuar, nos abrió posibilidades para ser mucho más eficientes, no tener que estar perdiendo tiempo en estos traslados y demás, pero nos dio un gran aprendizaje de que no podemos perder estas interacciones, ¿no? Que por cierto, ni siquiera desde el aspecto digital se pierden, porque la inteligencia artificial ya te graba todos tus Zooms y tus Teams y todo el rollo, pero te va a dar un resumen de lo que se dijo, pero nunca te va a dar bueno, al menos ahorita no te da un resumen de lo que se sintió, de lo que se percibió, porque inclusive hay emociones y sentimientos que se van trasladando en un Zoom o en un Teams, ¿no? Entonces, eso va a seguir existiendo, no tengo duda. Entonces, yo creo que la empatía y esta conexión es lo que ha preservado a pesar de los avances tecnológicos y demás que hayamos tenido, ¿no? Y por último, me gustaría decir algo que es muy interesante y lo platicábamos Pablo y yo en preparación a esto. Pues ya vivimos lo que es la glotonería, ¿no? Alimenticia o alimentaria, ¿no? O sea, pues ahora sí que tanta disponibilidad de alimentos pues nos ha llevado a ser seres humanos en donde efectivamente pues en un extremo hay pues muchas personas desafortunadamente que les va muy mal y se vuelven obesos y etcétera. Yo creo que estamos ahorita en una glotonería intelectual, sin duda. O sea, hay tanto conocimiento y vamos a empezar a ver obesos intelectuales, ¿no? O flojos o baquetones intelectuales, eso es lo que va a acabar pasando, ¿no? Pero apenas lo estamos entendiendo. Entonces, ¿cómo combatir eso? Pues tanto la alimentaria como la intelectual, con una sola cosa, ¿no? Con disciplina. Con disciplina y obviamente este propósito. Entonces, si tu propósito es suficientemente claro y muy fuerte, te tira de la cama. Y entonces la disciplina ya es algo que irás construyendo. Y si eso después lo alineas al espacio en donde estás pues transitando en este mundo, que puede ser en tu momento de vida la escuela, el trabajo, o a veces ya es lo mismo, ¿no? Porque ya hay niños de 16 años ya están haciendo todo, ya emprenden, pero ya se meten de becarios, pero también están estudiando, pero también están haciendo ejercicio. Por eso se están desdibujando las fronteras, ¿no? Entonces, propósito y disciplina, yo creo que son dos características que como seres humanos no debemos de perder de vista. ¿Sale?
Pablo, quiero hacerte una pregunta, quizás una doble pregunta. Una es, ¿qué papel juega la curiosidad? Hablabas del deseo, creo que el deseo es muy importante, la curiosidad, el deseo, pero también el coraje, ¿no? En el aprendizaje y en la concepción de uno como aprendiz durante toda la vida. Y la otra pregunta, me encanta el título del primer capítulo de tu libro El corazón es un resorte, donde hablas sobre la importancia de la imaginación y la metáfora como vehículos para comprender el mundo, ¿no? ¿Sigue siendo vigente esto en un mundo donde el análisis de cantidades masivas de datos es lo que está rigiendo el conocimiento de la realidad?
Muy brevemente respecto al segundo, sí, por supuesto, sigue siendo importantísimo. Nuestra mente sigue pensando en analogías todo el tiempo y las analogías y las metáforas son indispensables, no para que los poetas digan cosas muy lindas, o no solamente para que los poetas digan cosas lindas, sino para que entendamos las cosas. Una y otra vez recurrimos a terceros ejemplos. Arturo acaba de hablar de uno, por ejemplo, ¿no? Entre la comida y lo intelectual. Bueno, todo el tiempo estamos aprendiendo gracias a esas metáforas, a esas analogías. Eso nunca va a terminar. Respecto a lo primero, bueno, curiosidad, deseo, se habla mucho de esas cosas. Me interesa mucho lo que mencionas también del coraje. Eso se habla un poco menos. Se habla un poco menos de el coraje, la audacia, la valentía como un elemento importante en el aprendizaje. Y yo creo que eso es algo que hay que resaltar. Vivimos en un mundo que se ha forjado en las ideas de la Ilustración, el mundo liberal, y uno de los lemas más importantes de la Ilustración es precisamente el de la valentía, el de atrévete a saber, ¿no?
Sapere aude, ¿no?
Sapere aude, que es una frase tomada de una epístola, de unos versos del poeta latino Horacio, que Kant vuelve a traer en su momento y que realmente nos recuerda que hay que atrevernos a saber. Hay un elemento de valentía indispensable para lanzarse a ese territorio inmenso para todos, que es nuestra propia ignorancia. Tenemos que conquistar esos terrenos vastísimos de nuestra propia ignorancia personal, y tenemos que tener la valentía de entrar ahí, de entrar a esa zona de incertidumbre, donde no sabemos bien cómo funcionan las cosas. Entonces, ¿se necesita la valentía? Pues claro que se necesita, es un elemento importantísimo. Y bueno, ya que mencionamos ese texto de qué es la Ilustración de Kant, muy brevemente también recordar que la otra frase importante es la de que necesitamos llegar a la edad adulta en el sentido de pasar de la obediencia a órdenes exteriores a la obediencia a órdenes interiores, que eso es precisamente la disciplina o el autocontrol o la autonomía. Eso es lo que significa la palabra autonomía, darnos normas, gobernarnos a nosotros mismos, que es una cualidad importantísima. Como veo que el tiempo ya está volando, solo quiero terminar con una recomendación brevísima que leí el otro día que me parece fundamental. Pon atención a lo que pones atención. Hay que desarrollar esa meta-atención, esa capacidad de darnos cuenta de a qué le ponemos atención. Si hacemos ese ejercicio todos, de darnos cuenta a qué le ponemos atención, vamos a encontrar qué tanto nos desviamos de nuestras metas y de nuestros propósitos con todas las distracciones
Pablo,
diarias.
rápidamente,
Perdón.
¿crees que subyace una ética en el aprendiz para toda la vida? ¿Hay una ética de por medio?
Bueno, claro, hay esa ética, ese deber que tenemos de venimos al mundo a experimentar, a conocer, a comérnoslo. Bueno, al menos esa es la moral que yo tengo, la moral del aprendizaje, claro que existe, perdón.
Oye, yo puntualizo en eso, o sea, aquí en el grupo nos han enseñado la ética, que es muy simple y se entiende por sí misma, con la expresión de libertad con responsabilidad. O sea, yo creo que de eso va, o sea, todos tenemos que ser conscientes de que somos libres de hacer lo que nos plazca, pero pues sin tener que violentar o alterar nuestro entorno o a nuestros compañeros y demás. Entonces, bien implícita, pero también es algo de lo que me parece que se habla poco y se reflexiona menos.
Me gustaría hacer una pregunta más y una compartida para cerrar, que ya nos está comiendo el tiempo. Me interesa mucho el proceso de la toma de decisiones y la resolución de problemas. Creo que ahí nos vamos a diferenciar mucho de la máquina. ¿Qué tipo de decisiones laborales, Arturo, obligan realmente a desarrollar este juicio y el sentido de responsabilidad en las decisiones que tomamos y que por supuesto pues va a ser muy difícil que sean automatizadas. Ben Nelson ayer decía pues, al final alguien tiene que tomar la decisión, ¿no? Podemos tener toda la información, pero la decisión y el accountability, la responsabilidad de las decisiones son humanas. ¿Qué crees que pasa en ese sentido en las empresas?
Bueno, yo creo que cuando ya tienes gente a tu cargo, es de los momentos más críticos, porque en esta etapa adulta tienes que empezar a decidir por los demás. Yo creo que ahí es de lo más difícil que hay, y es donde más realmente vas formando ese juicio y ese sentido de responsabilidad, ¿no? De lo que estás haciendo. Porque pues decidir sobre la máquina, si la prendes, la apagas, pues, la verdad es que es fácil, ¿no? Pero nunca nos van a dar el contexto las máquinas de lo que está pasando, ¿no? De lo que estás sintiendo, de lo que estás viviendo hoy en día. Y bueno, el ejemplo más claro siempre es despedir a una persona, ¿no? Por ejemplo. O sea, solamente uno, bueno, si es que es un formador involucrado, entiendes el contexto de esa persona y el impacto que va a tener la decisión de deslindarlo, ¿no? Por ejemplo.
Oigan, rápidamente, última pregunta para los dos, porque ambos son formadores en distintos ámbitos, tú en la empresa, sin duda, Arturo, y Pablo, pues tú aquí en la universidad, además de otros ámbitos. Tengo la fortuna de facilitar el mismo curso que Pablo facilita, y es todo un reto, ¿no? Pero ¿cuándo observan tanto a un colaborador como a un estudiante que está creciendo, ¿no? Que está aprendiendo? ¿Cuáles son esas señales concretas que indican o que les indican que está aprendiendo, pensando mejor, decidiendo mejor y, digamos, no solo acumulando información o experiencia? Brevemente, ¿cuáles son esas señales muy específicas que ustedes dicen, híjole, como que está teniendo realmente sentido y efecto lo que estoy haciendo?
Yo creo que se ve en la manera en la que comunica, en la que se planta, o sea, es la madurez que se va reflejando por sí misma, ¿no? Ya no hay tanto arrebato y tanto arrojo involuntario, sino llegas a este autocontrol.
Templanza.
Templanza, yo creo que sería una buena palabra que lo englobe.
Pablo.
Yo veo lo mismo, y cuando lo veo aquí en el breve, no sé cuánto tiempo llevamos en la universidad, ya vamos 2 años, no me acuerdo cuánto.
Corre el tercero.
23, sí, está corriendo el tercero.
La verdad es fantástico verlo en los muchachos, y cuando yo lo veo, pues lo que siento es una enorme alegría. Y es muy esperanzador ver el crecimiento de las personas jóvenes. Realmente es una experiencia que vale más que lo que me pagan aquí. Pongámoslo así.
¿Sabes? Yo por último, de verdad es que sí agregaría algo, que es una sonrisa. Una sonrisa expresa la consolidación y el orgullo de que hiciste algo bien, ¿no? Entonces, cuando ves a alguien que sonríe, es porque pues está haciendo bien las cosas y las está disfrutando.
Oigan, pues qué privilegio que me hayan aceptado la invitación a esta charla. Muchas gracias. Se quedan muchas cosas en el tintero, ¿no? Apenas estaba empezando a calentar, ¿no? Tengo más preguntas aquí. Pero bueno, el tiempo nos come. Espero que haya tenido resonancia alguna de las ideas, de las reflexiones que tuvimos, y muchas gracias por su atención.
Gracias, José. Gracias.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Man.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. So, I've got some good news and some bad news. The bad news is that my Spanish pronunciation has been made fun of. The good news is that these translation services, you okay, buddy? Good. These translation services are so good, I'm impressed that it doesn't matter anymore. I can say whatever and we can tune in so that you hear whatever. That is really fascinating. So for almost 2 days, we've been hearing about this transformation going on within universities and within the biggest employers in the world. So now it's about time that we actually hear from inside one of the biggest talent companies in the world, from one of the most influential executives in the region. I am very proud to pronounce, so let's butcher this pronunciation, shall we? Mónica Flores Barragán and Ana Mala from Libertad. And Mónica is the president of the Manpower Group.
Buenos días. Hoy tenemos el enorme privilegio de contar con la presencia de Mónica. Mónica lleva más de 20 años como CEO del Manpower Group de América Latina. Entonces, estamos de verdad frente a una persona que conoce desde las entrañas lo que ha venido pasando en el ámbito laboral en América Latina. Mónica, muchísimas gracias por acompañarnos.
No, gracias por la invitación.
Oye, y nada más les digo, tenemos solamente 20 minutos y somos 2 latinas. A ver cómo nos va.
Necesitamos el red flag de ya, cállense.
Exacto. Bueno, nos pusieron un reloj. Yo creo que es para nosotras nomás. Okay. Y bueno, con esta introducción, Mónica, yo quiero empezar con la pregunta más básica que creo que a cualquiera le gustaría escuchar de tu persona, y es, en estos 20 años, 30 años, ¿no?, en América Latina, ¿cuáles han sido las transformaciones en el mundo laboral, en el tema de la atracción de talento que tú has visto? Y te la voy a poner difícil, no te enojes, no me regañes. Pero hay diferencias en América Latina, es decir, México es distinto a Centroamérica, es distinto a Sudamérica, Brasil.
A ver, yo creo que las tendencias en el mundo del trabajo son las mismas en el mundo. Quizá antes veíamos una diferente velocidad. Se transformaba Estados Unidos, Europa y América Latina. Empezábamos con esa transformación quizás 5 años después. Hoy eso no pasa. Hoy todos nos estamos transformando al mismo tiempo. Todos, y es bien rápido. Entonces, eso es un reto porque en el mundo hay escasez de talento. Hacemos una encuesta cada año y el 75% de los empleadores en el mundo dice que no encuentra el talento que requiere cuando lo necesita. En América Latina el promedio es de 67%. En México es del 70%. Es un gran número. O sea, imagínense que 7 de cada 10 empleadores dice no encuentro a las personas que yo requiero para mi estrategia de negocios del siglo XXI. Por otro lado, tenemos mucha gente buscando empleo, que eso sí es diferente en América Latina, y esta escasez de talento. ¿Por qué eso es diferente? Porque en Europa tenemos más poblaciones envejecidas, no tantos jóvenes, y entonces ese desequilibrio también está mal, pero por razones diferentes. Allá población envejecida y aquí jóvenes buscando una oportunidad, o no tan jóvenes buscando una oportunidad que no la encuentran. Diferencias en América Latina veo algunas, pero tampoco son tan radicales. Enfrentamos los mismos retos porque la inteligencia artificial y la digitalización nos aplanó el piso. En la región tenemos un tema con el inglés, tenemos un tema con los sistemas educativos desde la primaria, que seguimos con modelos antiguos, centrados en el maestro, de memoria, y los maestros no siempre están capacitados para esta modernidad. Y tenemos todavía en el mundo del trabajo el reto de las mujeres, y en el mundo también, pero más acentuado aquí. Culturas de negocios básicamente masculinas, sistemas de cuidados en general precarios, que impiden que más mujeres se integren en la fuerza laboral formal y en puestos de liderazgo y en asientos de consejo. Y bueno, pues ese es el panorama que hoy tenemos. Pero en América Latina y en el mundo tenemos 4 tendencias. Equipos diferentes, súper híbridos, empleados tradicionales, freelancers, IA y alguno que otro consultor. Y estos son los equipos que hoy vemos trabajando. Se acabaron las estructuras rígidas y las de siempre. La siguiente es una demanda de talento que aprenda. Y antes decíamos aprender a aprender, ¿no? Antes de la pandemia, durante la pandemia se puso de moda aprender a aprender. Aprender a aprender, sí. Pues ahora es aprender a aprender, pero bien rápido. Y todo el tiempo. Entonces, el impacto de la velocidad que imprime la digitalización nunca lo hemos visto así, porque el conocimiento se hace obsoleto luego. Y esto de aprender a aprender cobra mayor importancia y en el tema de velocidad porque se hace obsoleto lo que aprendiste en la universidad. Con toda la pena, lo que nos enseñaron antier probablemente no sirva dentro de 15 días. Entonces, eso mete una presión importante al talento y a las empresas para poder mantener el gap de actualización. Tercera, y ya cuando se me cayó, las normas cambiaron, se acabó el contrato tradicional de 9 a 6 con hora para comer de lunes a viernes, 25% de primera vacación, etc. Eso se acabó. Nuevas reglas, tal vez individualizadas, con trabajo flexible, trabajo remoto, otras formas de contratación y finalmente una crisis mayúscula, sobre todo en otras regiones, de planes de sucesión. Se nos está acabando el talento para sustituir a los líderes por poblaciones envejecidas y por otro lado, porque los líderes de hoy y de mañana son diferentes a los líderes de ayer y necesitan diferentes skills.
No, bueno, ¿cómo desempaco esto? Bueno, siendo parte de la Universidad de la Libertad, bueno, y pensando en el Future Talent Council y todo este tema de la IA, o sea, creo que me ha sacado un poco de mi esquema, ¿no? Y la pregunta es, ok, nosotros ahorita estamos todos aquí porque consideramos que la IA es justamente lo que está transformando. Pero tú creo que puntualizas que hay toda una serie de variables que en realidad pudieran o no estar relacionadas a la IA. ¿Tenemos razón en preocuparnos por este tema del reemplazo de los empleos por parte de IA?
A ver, yo creo que más que preocuparnos hay que ocuparnos. Y la IA no es todo lo que pasa en el mundo. La IA al final, desde mi punto de vista y desde nuestro punto de vista en Manpower Group, es una herramienta sorprendente, extraordinaria, dinámica, pero que tenemos que aprender a usar. Y ese es el reto. El reto no es la IA per se. El reto es cómo los humanos podemos hacer uso de la IA para los grandes problemas del mundo. Poblaciones envejecidas, sociedades antagónicas, diferencia entre los que tienen y los que no, los peces del mundo se pueden acabar, el hambre. Esos son los problemas que tenemos que resolver como humanidad, no es la IA. Ojalá estuviéramos hablando en muchos foros, bueno, ya me apasioné.
No, apasionate.
Hablemos de valores, hablemos de ética, hablemos de que los humanos tenemos que hacer para humanizar a las empresas, para que no perdamos ese toque de qué es lo importante, para humanizar al estudiante, para humanizar a las instituciones educativas, para que la universidad saque expertos en IA, que bueno, en negocios también, ingenieros supersónicos, pero también personas de valor. Y eso se nos olvida, porque me parece que como todo va a cambiar más rápido, lo único constante será la humanidad, el valor que las personas podemos aportar, los valores que nunca cambian y nuestros problemas seguirán cambiando.
Oye, súper interesante esta parte del tema de los valores, ¿no? Y del individuo, porque, perdona mi ignorancia, ¿no? Pero yo digo, bueno, es muy sencillo, si yo quiero contratar a un ingeniero mecánico, pues buscar a alguien con un título de ingeniería mecánica. Pero, ¿cómo es que ahora hacen los departamentos que buscan talento humano para encontrar algo tan, diría yo, intangible o tan subjetivo como el tema de los valores en un colaborador?
A ver, yo creo que ha cambiado una parte de lo que dijiste al principio. En los 80s buscamos una persona con un título de ingeniero mecánico. Hoy buscamos una persona que sepa de ingeniería mecánica. El peso relativo del título está cambiando y cobran importancia otras habilidades. Entonces, primer reto para las instituciones educativas, el título ya no va a ser lo primordial. Y tenemos que transitar a microcredencializaciones, a capacitaciones cortas, a equipos de aprendizaje, lo que quieran. Pero esta tradición que tenemos del título y ya garanticé mi éxito se acabó. Segundo, hoy necesito a alguien que sepa de este tipo de ingeniería mecánica, pero va a cambiar. Y a lo mejor estudió la carrera en los 90 y ya tampoco va a servir. Necesitamos personas que sepan de ingeniería mecánica, pero que sepan aprender a hacer otras cosas, porque su función como tal va a ser distinto en 5 años o en 2. ¿Qué me interesa más? Y ahorita voy al tema de los valores. Si hoy a mí me ponen 2 personas a escoger, un individuo que sacó 10 mención, 3 doctorados, serio, no iba a fiestas, no se reventaba, tal. Y una persona que a lo mejor no sacó 10, que a lo mejor debe 3 materias, que a lo mejor se va de fiesta todos los fines de semana, pero que tiene ganas, sabe aprender y quiere aprender, prefiero a este. Porque a lo mejor este no sabe hablar, a lo mejor este no sabe comunicar, y a lo mejor este no sabe vender las ideas, y a lo mejor está tan aplicado y tan cuadrado que no me va a ayudar a innovar. Hoy como personas, como universidades y como organizaciones buscamos personas que nos reten a pensar diferente. Más allá si tiene un título o no, no es que diga que no importa el título, y mucho menos en otras carreras como medicina y esto que es importantísimo. Pero lo que quiero plasmar es la idea de que el título ya no lo es todo y cada vez va a ser menos importante. Buscamos más el drive humano y claro, la ética y los valores, insisto, es algo que tenemos que volver a poner sobre la mesa porque se nos olvidó en algún momento. Ya las organizaciones no solo tienen que hacer dinero por hacer dinero, tienen que hacer dinero para devolver algo a la sociedad, para hacer el entorno mejor. Y claro, o sea, hacer más competitivos y incrementar el precio de la acción, eso por supuesto. Pero se nos olvidó en cierta parte este tema de revalorizar a la persona como tal. Y eso implica repensar la universidad y repensar las instituciones educativas y repensar el rol del maestro.
Muy bien, muchas gracias, Mónica. No, el reto para nosotros que estamos en el sector educativo es fuerte, nos queda claro. Una pregunta, o sea, vamos a seguir como que en esta línea. Digo, yo sé que la que está en el sector educativo soy yo, pero la que está viendo justamente esas áreas de oportunidad eres tú, ¿no? Y bueno, anecdóticamente, si me permiten así rapidísimo, porque el reloj sigue corriendo, sí. De hecho, yo regresé de la industria privada a la educación precisamente por eso, porque con la empresa en la que estaba no encontrábamos talento, ¿no? Obvio que la universidad tiene mucho que hacer y el sector educativo también. Pero si mañana, si te quitas la cachucha de empresa, de talento humano, etcétera, ¿no? Que busca talento humano para el sector laboral, y te pones la cachucha de educadora, ¿qué sería lo que le enseñarías a los estudiantes para cerrar esa brecha?
A ver, primero retaría el pensamiento que es diferente y están disasociados la educación y la empresa. Eso no puede pasar. Tanto la empresa como las instituciones educativas debemos formar las skills que necesitamos para el futuro. No son docentes que no se hablan, no, tenemos que trabajar juntos. Como educador, como maestro, me saldría a la calle para entender lo que está pasando en el mercado laboral. Creo, con todo el respeto a los docentes, que a veces nos quedamos en el cubículo y en el aula y en la junta con el de recursos humanos de la industria no sé qué. No, hay que salir a la calle para ver qué necesitan las empresas y dónde está ese gap entre lo que estoy formando y lo que requiere el mundo laboral para tener un salario digno y una vida digna. Creo que el primero que tiene que aprender rápido es el docente. Y se tiene que capacitar, porque si ese rol no cambia, es difícil que cambie el estudiante que egresa de la universidad. Y la segunda, yo redimensionaría el papel del educador. Hacerlo más como un mentor, como un tutor, como una guía, como un inspirador, como un sponsor. Claro que va a enseñar academia y todo esto, no lo quito, pero no es un agente de transformación de información, el maestro. Es un agente de transformación de la persona.
Muchas gracias, Mónica. Y vamos a regresar ahora a la empresa, ¿sí? Y este tema de, ok, yo formo un estudiante, tiene un título formal, y ahora es la empresa la que tiene que decidir si es un buen fit para mi organización, para el puesto. Yo siempre digo, it's the right person in the right with the right skills in the right job, ¿no? Esa es como la regla. ¿Cómo es que con estos cambios ya, con el título siendo más irrelevante, que es que las empresas empiezan a buscar, ¿no? O son los mecanismos normales que yo conocí, que vas, te hacen las entrevistas y entrevista tras entrevista, o hay ya otras metodologías que estén utilizando las empresas para reclutar a esa persona correcta para ese puesto correcto?
Yo agregaría lo que dice, si es the right skills for now, pero la siguiente pregunta es, ¿puede adquirir the right skills for the future? Porque si solo es alguien que tiene las skills para ahorita, híjole, capaz que no es el mejor candidato que necesitas porque necesitas otras cosas en 2 años. Tienes que encontrar a la persona que pueda aprender lo que sigue. Segunda, no dejaría toda esta bronca para que la resuelva recursos humanos. Es un problema que tienen que resolver los líderes desde la organización, empezando por el CEO. Porque el CEO no entiende esta parte, recursos humanos no lo va a poder resolver. Desde recursos humanos, sí, encontrar a la persona adecuada y tal, pero también no dejemos de lado, y esto es una buena oportunidad de negocios, la formación de nuevos líderes para las organizaciones del futuro. Porque el líder de ayer no me sirve hoy, en la mayoría de los casos. El líder de hoy, híjole, ojalá que me sirva para dentro de los siguientes 5 años. Necesitamos que estos líderes cambien, porque ya el líder no solo contrata gente, no solo busca el mejor fit. El líder tiene que retener al fit, que eso es bien caro. Tener una vacante cubierta es más caro que la inspiración. Si tenemos líderes que no inspiran, que no son buenas personas, que no transmiten valores, que no transmiten la cultura y el propósito de la empresa, tampoco sirve. Hay que verla, quiero decirlo de forma correcta, hay que ver la película completa. No solo es el proceso de reclutamiento, donde veo a esta persona inquieta, que quiere aprender, que tiene valores, que al parecer hace fit con mi cultura, sino que estoy haciendo desde adentro para retener a ese que al parecer hace fit con mi cultura. Creo que el liderazgo hoy es un tema crucial. La inteligencia artificial es importante y nos ayuda y tal. Hay que tener mucho dinero para invertir en todo lo que queremos hacer en inteligencia artificial. Hay que resolver el tema de la energía. Hay que resolver el tema más importante de quién le va a hacer las preguntas a la inteligencia artificial. Buscamos personas que hagan las preguntas correctas, no las que sepan las respuestas. Y el segundo reto, o tercer, no sé en cuál voy, de esto de la inteligencia artificial es, la inteligencia artificial la debemos usar para ser más productivos, ¿no? Hacer más cosas más rápido. La gran pregunta es, ¿qué vamos a hacer con el tiempo que nos sobra? Porque a lo mejor una persona hoy ocupa 8 horas para hacer no sé qué. Con la inteligencia artificial va a ocupar 4. ¿Qué vamos a hacer con esas 4 horas? Como organización y como persona tiene que responderse qué va a hacer con esas 4 horas de su vida que se van a liberar. Es correcto. Me parece que son los cuestionamientos que deberíamos estar abordando.
Muy bien. Bueno, nos queda un poquito de tiempo y lo voy a aprovechar. Y bueno, esta pregunta te la voy a hacer específicamente para mis estudiantes, ¿sí? Y te la voy a hacer utilizando un ejercicio que hacemos aquí en la universidad, ¿no? Y es, si hubiera una capacidad, una habilidad, ¿sí?, que tú pudieras definir que va a ser estratégica, ojo, hoy, en 10 meses y en 10 años, ¿cuál sería?
Esa pregunta no se vale porque está bien complicada. Una está cañón, pero a ver, asumiendo que esa persona es ética, tiene valores y tal, learnability. Esa capacidad de aprender rápido, pero no solo esa capacidad, esa motivación para aprender rápido. Algunos lo llaman curiosidad, pero a mí no me acaba de cuadrar la palabra curiosidad. Es capacidad y motivación de aprender.
Muchísimas gracias, Mónica. Un aplauso, por favor.
Thank you so much. Wow. Thank God for translation services, but that was fantastic. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's okay. So now, my ladies and gentlemen, that's saying a lot. We are going to do a short break, and then for some coffee and some networking, and then we will be back with the breakout sessions that I think will be visible here. Monica will come back to this stage, and we have an educational one and a student session coming right up. But please get some coffee, say hi, and I'll see you soon.
Esta es segunda llamada. Segunda llamada.
Bienvenido a la Universidad de la Libertad. Antes de comenzar, te compartimos el protocolo de protección civil en caso de sismos. Conserva la calma y sigue las
Esta es segunda llamada. Segunda llamada. Esta es segunda llamada. Segunda llamada. Esta es Tercera Llamada. Tercera Llamada. Comenzamos.
Hello.
Only time 2 days I haven't had a mic. Hi everyone, great to see you. Welcome. I'll just reiterate, when we design these events, we do it intentionally, and what we try to create is the broader strokes sessions with maybe global trends or those kinds of things, data sets, case studies, and then one below with a panel, maybe a cross-sector edition of perspectives on those global trends, and then these breakout sessions where we get to speak out a little more, ask the questions, interact more, roll up our sleeves, and really try to get some work done, and get down to the truths and maybe even more the practicalities. What are we doing? What are we sensing? And what are we investing in? When we designed this particular session, I had the classic, a bit of a rough around the edges, thinking of put your money where your mouth is concept in mind, right? So making sure that we are talking about these concepts, what future talent we believe in, but where are we all here seeing that the investments are going in companies, right? What are companies and institutions investing in, and what are they not investing in? And what is our guidance? What do we think that people should put money behind? So you've just met Monica, but Rob Henderson from Canada, BioTalent Canada, welcome here. Maybe a short introduction.
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. I just want to say, by the way, I was telling Daniel earlier, it was really nice for Mexico City and for Daniel to import the Canadian climate into this venue for us. So I feel very much at home here. I appreciate it. It's great. It's nice to see all of you in jackets now. It's very similar to the climate I have back home now. So my name is Rob Henderson. I work for BioTalent Canada. We're a workforce development council, a national council in Canada that works to map labor market and skills that are required in Canada's biotechnology industry. Our industry is mainly made up of small and medium-sized enterprises, and we're trying to find the best ways forward in terms of strategic investments to make sure that we have the talent force for the coming century. So I'm glad to be here with you today. Thank you.
Fantastic. And local champion, Diego Prieto from EBC,
Hi.
Chief Learning Officer. Tell us, what is the company doing and what's your background?
So just a slight clarification. The Chief Learning Officer was the person who was originally going to come in.
Yes, sorry. You're the rector.
I'm the rector,
yes. Sorry.
Especially with that accent. I like how it sounds.
Yeah. I do everything I can.
No, so Diego Prieto from Escuela Bancaria y Comercial. For those of you who doesn't come to mind, it's one of the oldest private universities in Mexico, business focused. Started off as being a training center for El Banco de Mexico. No, so we're about to get to our 97th anniversary, and very happy to be joining here. And please go ahead. Let's dive in.
Fantastic. Yeah, let's do it. Monica, we just heard from you. Ma'am, just to reiterate, when we're talking about the future of talent, how would you describe how your company is investing in that future talent? How do you prioritize?
Well, it's a huge question.
Yep.
We invest in many areas. Of course, technology to help talent to develop. We invest in programs with some educational institutions to guarantee that we will have the right talent on time. And we spend a lot of time and resources doing surveys to understand what employers are needing and also what candidates are looking for. Because if we can't match both sides of the coin, it's going to be a disaster in the next future.
Rob?
Well, Canada is making some major national investments around artificial intelligence. And we, even though a lot of people don't know this, we have two of the scientists that actually invented the technology of artificial intelligence decades ago. But we've fallen behind in terms of being able to, for uptake. So the issue that we've got in our industry right now in biotechnology is 70% of companies have no dedicated human resources. So we have a whole bunch of scientists doing HR, which is something they never got trained to do, right? So it's like getting a lawyer to do your plumbing. It's just, it doesn't work very well at all. And as a result, they don't, even though they embrace scientific technology, sometimes molecular biology, anatomy, et cetera, they're not necessarily embracing digital technology or AI very quickly. So we're doing a lot of training, specifically life sciences and biotechnology specific training. And that's really a key for us because biotech and science, for those of you who are familiar with the industry, they have some very specific needs. One is protecting their own intellectual property, because IP, in terms of molecular formulas or medical devices, this is their currency. This is the currency of the industry. And they're very, very concerned about using artificial intelligence because the legislation has not yet caught up to the technology to say, if you put in a molecule into an AI, a generative AI engine, like in terms of, and somebody uses it and attaches a benzene molecule and cures Alzheimer's, who owns that molecule? And there is no jurisprudence on that. It's only starting to be designated around the world. So it's very, they're late adopters. But they're all businesses. So they do marketing and sales and finance and all of the things that other businesses do. So unfortunately, they're falling behind in some of the efficiency gains that other industries are realizing because they're early adopters. So we're trying to put in some, right now, we're launching this month, some biotech-specific AI training for the industry. And we're trying to plug into a lot of the programs that our federal government has prioritized in terms of trying to make sure that Canada ups its game on the world stage in terms of AI adoption.
Fantastic. Diego, I know you do a lot.
We're trying. We're trying. If I can give the 2-minute breakdown, just so we put it into context, one of our biggest purpose is intergenerational social mobility, right? So when you put that as the North Star, you basically have to identify how you're going to put people to be successful in the workforce. So we're investing a lot in the bridge between workforce and what we are training them. And once we get into the training, given what the workforce has told us that they're going to need in 5-10 years' time, we're investing in 2 big areas, which are clearly the, let me say, technical skills, AI being one of them, and I can dive into that a bit more if that's where we're heading. And also what's being called, the human, the durable skills, So this hybrid mind, this high-tech, high-touch duality, we're investing a lot to go towards the edges of both of those realms. That's where we're investing in.
Fantastic. Monica, if we broaden, I think what your perspective is so interesting because you don't only see your own massive organization, but also so many clients' organizations. So you have sort of like a double perspective a little bit. If we broaden that a little bit, what are you seeing other organizations, and are there any trends or characteristics of other people's organizations? I mean, how they invest in this?
Yes. Most of organizations invest almost in the same things. Probably in different percentages, but in the same things. But I want to remark that few companies are investing in change management. Which is key for success. So investing in change management implies not only people that are experts in whatever, but also to spend time explaining to the teams the reason of the change and what's in there for them. So people can understand why, how, and when. And few companies are taking that in a serious way of explaining and then explaining again and then communicating again and again and again and again. Because you can have millions of dollars invested in AI, and at the end might be a complete disaster if people is not engaged. So I want to remark that successful companies are focused on that.
You can't just buy access to a software platform and hand them the keys and rely on the rest, right? That's a very important thing, actually. Rob, I mean, you sort of do the same. You see insights of a lot of organizations as well.
Absolutely. We're finding, and I couldn't agree more, right now we're finding a lot of the times the change management and the human skills that we're talking about really rests on those managers. And to make sure that those managers are empathetic, that are able to, and I couldn't agree more on the communication side, because this is very scary for a lot of employees. I mean, right now, I just read a report from the World Economic Forum that was saying 41% of jobs are going to change. They expect employment to go up, but 41% of jobs are going to be changing. Many of those are going to be resurrected in terms of the same people that are going to be doing different things. But that's very scary when you start at a certain job. You don't necessarily see your 70% of your job evolving into something completely radically new over the next 3 to 5 years. And psychologically, that takes a toll on people. And that takes time. And it takes empathy, and it takes really good communication skills and management. And I don't think we're emphasizing that enough in this disruptive age, that the leadership, I mean, certainly leadership, but even middle management, because it's a question where we can as leaders.
All kind of leaders.
Pardon me?
All kind of leaders, not only hierarchical leaders, but community leaders. The most popular guy in the company should understand where we are going.
That's right, and you have to toe the line. Like as a leader, you can make policy and start saying from the top down, this is what's going on. But it's really those direct managers that have the strongest lines of communication in terms of implementation, in terms of alignment. And if they're not aligned, or if they're not capable, or if they're not trained up in terms of themselves, in terms of resilience, adaptation, all of those things in lifelong learning, you're going to get a roadblock or a big speed bump.
And I think those having a buy-in and tailored buy-in, I guess, from all those categories is critical, because we spent 2 years trying to promote prompt engineering, right? But then all of a sudden you realize that at the top, in the boardroom or similar, they're making AI illiterate decisions, which of course changes the course of the whole company. So, Diego, you are very digitally savvy.
Well, just to complement what's being said, I think the discourse around change, the communication, it has to be there, but I also believe that you have to do things. Really by doing, kind of the active learning or the experiential learning part of a transformation is really important. So, I don't know, has anybody here already made their own agent, AI agent? So there's maybe a couple of hands. That just is a really quick way of seeing, like, I'm sure all of us here have been using AI for questions and answers, but when you start going past that, if you don't do it yourself, then how can you expect everybody else to do it? So it got to a point where kind of like not only putting your money where your mouth is, putting your time and putting yourself outside those very comfortable borders that you once had, and saying like, I'm used to Excel, I'm used to PowerPoint, I'm used to doing things with the board this and that way, but guess what? I'm the first one that has to go and build an agent. And then you start getting to the point where like, I need to connect it to WhatsApp so that the agent actually talks to somebody else. And how do you do that? That's where it starts getting a bit more specific, a bit more real. And that's where the use cases start being something that you can actually, start smiling about. So trying to get that concept together with investing We're investing a lot, for instance, in the technical aspect of things, so that students actually have, let's say, a workshop. Because, one thing is giving them an AI license, but then you have to, in order for you to evolve with your literacy in AI, you need a bunch more systems nowadays. You need a WhatsApp account, you need an Instagram account, you need this, you need that, and that's what we're doing. We're doing kind of like a maker space, so you can go in and start learning how to actually build out the infrastructure, the scaffolding needed to create agents, amongst other things. So,
how did you get started? Were you playing around with it?
I was eating tacos, and a friend of mine said, "Listen, Diego, you're falling behind."
Yeah.
This friend of mine.
You weren't eating fast enough? Or?
I couldn't sleep that night after what he told me. He told me, "We've bet the entire company on AI. We'd rather lose the company than lose this opportunity. And you're falling asleep." And I'm like, "No, I'm not falling asleep. I already have an AI team. I have this, I have that." And he said, like, "But what are you doing specifically?" So what have I done? I did an agent that through WhatsApp would contact everybody in school, and for them to share how they're living our defining principles. And not only that, but you need another agent that looks through all the answers and kind of extracts the information and gives it back to them in a really nice way. So that was the first thing that I did with agent building.
Because I think the point is very relevant and important. That when we talk about investment, time is obviously maybe the biggest investment, especially on the leadership level. Because I think a lot of us, and you pointed that out, using maybe a ChatGPT or something on the ground level, but not, even I can, only even to understand the next level and spending that extra hour or two, refining, even I'm not doing that, right? And that's like you said, that's a vulnerability for everything you're doing.
Frustrating.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Unresponsible.
Yeah. I don't know. Have you done anything on your own?
Yeah, I can add just as a small, BioTalent Canada is a small and medium-sized enterprise itself. We've only got about 45 employees.
Yeah.
And we've tried to put things down in a way, and I really liked what you were talking about in terms of giving the time and the resources and the training.
Yeah.
What we've also done is we've understand that there is a huge spectrum of the adoption rate and the willingness rate from our people for AI. It can be very scary. So we've also created, beyond the fact that we've invested in training and official training, we've created policy about it, all around it, and we've increased access to make sure people have got paid access to different facilities. We've also created a safe space for them with some team champions that have emerged, where it's not just somebody like a manager, a director of digital services that's telling them the proper procedures or implementing the policy or anything else. It's peers that are engaging with other peers in a bit of a sandbox, a very safe sandbox, where people can feel vulnerable and say, "How do you find time for this?" Or what, like, how do you intuitively apply critical thinking to this? And it's a lot of the human skills that are being implemented. So we're trying to make it much more about things like going, okay, this is how you implement it into your day-to-day. Making it practical, because a lot of the times this is very theoretical. People are using it in theoretical cases. And we're trying to say, use it practically in your day-to-day so you can get comfortable with it, with what you're doing. And it's been really good. We've been doing that about twice a month now. And from a peer-to-peer, it seems to be striking a chord in allowing them, I think, the mental safety and the emotional safety to embrace it at their own pace. And we're not trying to say you all have to be at this stage on April 1st or over here or anything like that. And I think that's really helping. But it is going to be a bit of a tough haul, because there are going to be some people that are going to be less able or less willing to adopt the change, the disruption.
I want to add something to my previous answer, building on your comment. I think successful companies have a business case of implementing AI. And the cost is not only AI, the agent. There are a number of costs related to that. Attrition, people is going to leave. Labor claimant, because people is going to be afraid. And that causes productivity, not only stress. Training for the leaders also. And one that is very important, and for us is very important, is cybersecurity. I haven't seen just hundreds of business cases with all the concepts that should be taken into consideration when you say, I'm going to implement AI. And I will say, oh, that's very expensive. You know, to pay the AI, you need to look for a productivity that is so big that pays all these costs that are hidden, I don't know where.
Yeah, yeah. And I found it fascinating when we talk, because I mean, it's sort of two things. I mean, a bit of a role transformation. Like those scientists, will they be doing the same thing or not? Like, we referenced Anthropic earlier, and they think that they will hire more software developers, but software development will look very differently, right? It's another kind of job entirely, right? And that's a fast. So I'm just thinking about those scientists. I mean, how are they learning? It's not one certificate, one time. I guess those investments has got to be rolling. It's almost a culture of investing in adaptability.
Well, for sure. And again, it's those human skills, because the issue again is where scientists are concerned. It's a very, very, I love the industry that I'm in, but it's very challenging because a lot of scientists got into the field that they got because they're not always good with people.
Yeah.
It's really true. If you've seen somebody who's gone into, I have
Terminology,
a science background myself, so I understand
the term lab rat.
That's about it. And if you've seen them come in, if you've ever been to a trade show and you see scientists trying to pitch to people, it's sometimes difficult because they go into too much detail of their science and the processes because they think everybody else is as excited about it as they are, and they're not. And it's the human element that escapes them. And I think this is where AI is really going against them, because it is a question where, and it's also very concerning because worldwide there is no industry that is going to be as drastically impacted by artificial intelligence than healthcare, life sciences, and biotechnology. Can you imagine, like in terms of, we were talking about it just this morning, where before you would have like a scientist plodding along with a microscope, hopefully going down one pathway to human trials to be able to get a drug that works. Where meanwhile, with agentic AI, you're going to be having the equivalent of thousands of scientists that can explore all pathways at the same time in order to get to a human system that works. Like, the advent is going to be extraordinary. And the socioeconomic impact is going to be equally. But the human impact is what escapes a lot of the scientists. And in their own teams, because they're businesses, again, the cure for cancer is fantastic, but if you don't get to commercialization, it doesn't matter. Right? And this is the issue, is that they don't up their businesses in a human-centric way to make sure that they have the people around there that can learn at their own pace and feel in a safe space. There's going to be a lot of businesses that are going to fall by the wayside. Now, that's debatable whether they should in terms of the evolution of technology. But that's very, very scary in terms of a lot of solutions that may be falling away, or maybe that may have failed that could have otherwise succeeded.
Diego, I think that what we touched on that, executives maybe not spending the time, not maybe even talking about AI strategy, but not actually practically understanding it. That's a gap, right? Do you see any other gaps out there in terms of what people are talking about, or what they're saying and what they're doing?
Yeah.
A couple.
Several of them. No, but I'll talk about one that's very dear in my heart, because we speak to companies, and they tell us, what we're expecting from your graduates to be the internal force of change when they come towards us. So what they're really saying is that we should be the ones doing this change management, teaching both at the technical and kind of like cultural level. But then you start looking at the industry of education, and you guys probably know it. I mean, it takes maybe 2 years to develop an entire curriculum. Then you go through it 4 years, then you start an entry-level job, and by the time that you really start having some kind of a decision in a company, that's already maybe a 10-year time lag, okay? And this is a normal institution. There's some institutions here in Mexico, one of them, I won't mention the name, but they're working really hard in changing their lesson plans. The problem is they started the changes in 1957, and they still haven't been able to.
Still working on it.
They're still working on it. So one of the things that we are investing in, just to kind of break that mold, is how do you get that 2-year time lag, maybe from starting a lesson, an undergraduate degree conceptualized, to changing as fast as everything that's changing nowadays, okay? So what we're doing is that, first of all, you need a centralized curriculum.
Yeah.
You cannot have each professor saying what's right, what's wrong, okay? So we centralize that, and once you centralize it, and here whoever's an academic is going to start raising their hand and saying libertad de cátedra, no, I don't know how you say that in English, but the freedom of teaching whatever each professor wants to teach.
Sounded better in Spanish.
So you start getting into those, you have to break those molds. But once you get a centralized curriculum, then you can start adding information, really extracting each one of the key competencies that you have within your curriculum. And then what you have is, at least in our case now, every 6 weeks, we get 45 professors to all update and upgrade the lessons plans. So at least we've brought it down from maybe 6 years to 6 weeks time for updating, okay? And you need that because, yes, what we're teaching now was very different than what we thought we needed to teach 6 months or a year ago. So one of the things we need to invest in is making it a lot more agile and breaking some of those intrinsic barriers in the industry to make that happen.
And I have a question for him. How do you solve the problem of human skills? You can update in 6 weeks, whatever, hard information. But the human skills?
See, so that's the other beauty. As I was saying at the beginning, we have 2 big things, the very human skills, the permanent, the working in groups, the communication skills, and we have the very technical skills. So let me go to the human skills. And what we're investing in there is the science behind education, okay? Because one thing that hasn't changed that much ever since computers have been around is what's in there, right? Now, what we are investing in is how, with data, how can we start in not copying whatever was successful in the US 20 years ago, how can we start investing so that we see that our lesson plans are actually providing real results, okay? We've partnered with people that help us, but we're also starting to identify our own methods. Okay? This brings me a bit more towards investing in innovation. It's something that everybody says that they're doing, but that's one of the other huge areas of opportunity that I find. And for those of us that live here in Mexico, there's this one word, the one that I detest the most out of all of them, which is called tropicalizar, tropicalize.
Tropicalize. I need to know more.
You need to know more.
I need context.
Here is how it happens, okay? So somebody in another context, in Stockholm, is investing, is developing. There clearly takes time, 5 years to make it a successful innovation. They'll spread it within their boundaries, within their company, within their country. And for us down here in the warmth of Mexico, once it's successful over there, we say, oh, why don't we tropicalize it? Why don't we adapt it to our own context? Okay? But fundamentally what that says is that then we're going to always be 10 years behind. Okay? So when we say you need to start investing, is we need to start investing in producing things, in this case, how do you teach soft skills, but investing so that we develop our own methods that work within our own context, not trying to go the other way around. That's why I hate the word.
I learned something that's fantastic. I mean, and funny enough, Rob, a couple of months back, you and I were in a university boardroom with a university president saying, well, what we got to figure out is what the job market is going to look like in 6 years, because that's we start today. That's what we're going to be delivering, right?
Yeah, and right now, like in terms of this technology, like we've been taking all of the panels and everything that we've been talking about.
Yeah.
I love the point you made, Monica, is that this is going to depend on the human skills in order to see how we adapt and how we utilize the technology to our advantage.
Yeah.
And the issue is we're not starting this on a level playing field. In Canada, it's not the technical skills that are the huge deficits within these companies. It's the human skills. And the bigger problem is that those are the skills that are deficits in all of the industries, in almost every vertical, which means you're already competing for those skills across all of the industries, even if they already start with the technical skills. So the issue here is also, and I think it's not just in what we adopt, but how we adopt it. Because the only way that you're going to learn those human skills outside some of the processes within academia, and academia is struggling, and I'm not beating up on them, but they struggle to be able to inculcate those human skills. And that's going to be the methodology of how we adopt it. It's going to be through group learning, through champions, through empathy, through really good leadership and management.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of industries that are struggling with that at the beginning. But this is a fantastic crucible because it's going to be sort of learn or die.
Yeah.
Because now it's going to be, you're going to be so behind the 8 ball. If this doesn't occur, it is going to be a question where, I'm a scientist, so I embrace Darwin. But you know what happens if you obey the Darwinian law, right? There's going to be a lot that fall by the wayside. Our worry is that really innovative technology and innovative science may be within some of those companies that fall by the wayside, which doesn't really help humankind.
No.
However, that's sometimes the survival of the fittest. And I think this is going to be a bit of a cleansing, forgive me, but in terms of the businesses, because if they don't adopt the methodologies whereby humans can learn, become resilient, become adaptive in the light and in embracing disruptive technology, they are not going to be able to compete in 3 to 5 years. That's just going to be the way it is. And this, I think, is going to really, before we've been able to put off those human skills. It hasn't really hit us in the face. We've struggled with it, and especially in science, we're going, it doesn't matter. We don't have to be a people-centric company. It's okay. But if they're going to be early adopters in this disruptive technology, to emerge at the end, at the finish line, they're going to realize that the methodology of how they adopt this is just as important as how far they get.
Yeah. Monica, I asked these gentlemen about gaps. Do you see, what gaps do you see between what people are saying and what they're doing?
Really? You were asking that?
Yeah. Be kind.
I'm going to answer a different question.
Okay, yeah. Take another question.
Of course, there is a gap. Everybody's talking about everything, human skills, AI, business, well-being, whatever, but we are not doing enough to achieve any of those goals.
No.
Because things are changing as we speak. In business, in science, in technology, in governments, in society. And we are still talking about the same thing, trying to fix the same process with AI, with a training course, with a different curricula. We don't have time for that.
No.
I think that the challenge that we have in our faces, everybody, not just the educational institution, is to change everything fast. The only thing that hasn't changed is the human being. So we need to work with the human being to be capable enough to manage technology, capable enough to satisfy a more sophisticated client, capable enough to satisfy a more sophisticated employee, and then we will provide experiences. Because the transaction in the world has changed forever. Nothing is going to be transactional. We need to remind an experience to going to a restaurant or having a call with your finance consultant. Experiences is what we value now. The experience to go to this university. And we haven't worked enough to provide that to more sophisticated human beings. That should develop more sophisticated human skills. So the problem won't be solved at the university level. That's my thought.
Yeah.
We need to work from the elementary school.
Yeah.
And we are still talking here when the problem is downstairs.
Yeah.
We need to be in touch with reality.
Yeah.
Because time is scarce.
Yeah.
We don't have time.
Exactly. 'Cause we have to do both, right? Because
Yes, now and for tomorrow and in 2 years and now.
Because the
and-
change
yeah.
is also happening right now. I mean, for us, we see it in the middle of a career, so we're not going to escape this. This is changing our jobs as we speak too.
Yes, and when I have a daughter, she's 25, she's millennial, no, she's C generation. She doesn't have patience for anything. Not to understand the AI agent. She doesn't care. She wants an answer fast and should be fun. So if we want talent for the future in our companies, and if universities want to have alumni in their institutions, they need to think in that way.
Yeah.
Should be fun, should be fast, and should be very human.
Yeah. Yeah. Diego, if we start to summarize this and think about what would the key characteristics be of an investment strategy that we all here would believe in for a company going forward, talent perspective, what would the key characteristics be there, you think?
Let me pick up a bit on what was just said. We did a survey around employees, yes, people that are working in academia, people that are working in K-12. And the question is, who is most responsible for the successful career of an individual? No? Is it academia? Is it K-12? Is it the parents? Is it the individual? Is it the companies? Who's more responsible? What do you guys think came out? Who's more responsible?
Wow, I can't wait. Well, someone else.
All of the above.
All of the above, that was the answer.
Yeah.
It was like a 20%, between the 5 things, right? So trying to summarize, one of the things that we're putting our money where our mouth is we're recognizing that this is not something that can be dealt with on our own. And so we're investing in places that we can get together and share these problems or opportunities and start working at them. You know, we do believe in cultures of change where you connect, you see people, we're here together, we see each other, we feel safe, we're bound to start, you know, giving ideas, interact, and we feel like we have a future that is common to all of us. And that's where things starts happening. That's where the human side starts evolving. So going back almost and trying to close down in my initial statement, like, yes, we are investing in this type of activities and forums which are high touch or high human, so we can create that change management, but we're also investing a lot in the very aspects of what the change, this very high technological change that is needed, you know, so a bit of both.
Yeah, fantastic. Rob, your talent.
It's very tempting, and I think as a human, and I loved what you said, Monica, it's very tempting to think that because of all these technological changes that the human condition has changed. It has not. Some things have not changed over several years, over decades, if not millennia. The best communicators are the best storytellers. The best leaders are the best relationship builders, right? In terms of all of this. And that's largely because we're hardwired to be that. The best managers are the ones who are the most empathetic, right? How does someone relate to you when they feel that you care for them? That is the strongest human relation. And I think it's very, very tempting to try to think that the best leader will be the one who's the most technologically advanced in order to embrace a disruptive technology. It will not. It will be those who continue to embrace the culture and embrace empathy in terms of and communications to be able to talk to people through this disruptive technology, just like it was when the World Wide Web came out, when the gas-powered car replaced the horse, and all of these things that happened. And I think those are the things that we're going to have to continue to look into and invest in occasions to make sure that that is what we concentrate on. Of course, the technology will come, and of course, it will. People will embrace it as we have with other technologies. I'm not saying that this technology is the same as others. I think it'll be more impactful, and I think it'll be even more disruptive. But at the same time, if we think that our hard wiring and our emotional intelligence has advanced as much as technology has in the next 150 years, we're fooling ourselves. Evolution doesn't work that way. It just doesn't work that way. And the human condition is going to be that way. And I think we have to understand that the substrate is not the technology, the substrate is the human psyche. And this is going to be a psychosocial endeavor. And we are going to have to draw upon our human, relational, and human-centric expertise and advances in order to control it and in order to manage it. And sometimes we're going to have to manage it slower, even though the disruptive technology is faster. That may be the case. And I think we have to really take a look at that. And it's going to be that more. And for those of us who are managers and leaders, a lot of it's going to be on our shoulders.
I'm going to ask you the same question, Marco, but I'm just going to sneak in a question, right? Because Manpower Group globally, millions of roles every year, I guess. How many? Would you know? 2, 3, 4 million? Yeah. A lot of jobs coming and going.
Thousands.
But what I hear from all the hundreds of big employers that are part of Future Talent Council is that they sense a trend of the youngest people coming into their companies now having less developed human skills than before. Do you relate to that, or is that something that you could...
I don't agree to that.
Yeah, good.
I don't agree.
No.
Young people has the same human skills that in the past century.
Yeah.
The speed is different. The speed that we are asking to them. And we are asking them to work in a workforce model that is obsolete. It's not that they don't have the human skill, it's that they can't adapt to an old model. Their expectations are different. They see the jobs and work in a different way than I. I was trained, I said trained, not educated. I was trained to work in the same company for the next 30 years. And to wait for a promotion and to wait for a salary increase and to say thank you to my boss. I was trained for that. For me, having a good job, it was success. For them, it's different. They don't see two lives, job and personal life. They realize that they just have one life. And they are not defining success as having a good job. They are defining success as being happy, which is the right thing to do, in my perspective. Now I learned from them that part. So I'm completely in disagreement with that statement that they don't have those human skills.
I'm happy to hear that. And then that was a great explanation. Now, add to the talent strategy here. What do you think is the key characteristics of a successful talent strategy going forward?
You need to have as clear as possible the skills that you need today and the skills that you will need in 2 years and in 4 years, which is a difficult task. But the main thing I think is to have the right leaders in place. Not the right candidates. It's important, but it's most important to have the right leaders, because they retain the candidates. The right leaders will inspire your workforce. The right leaders will move the company to the next step. So the first point is train your leaders or change your leaders. Whatever is cheaper and faster.
Yeah, my father said, taught me the greatest rule in human resource management, and that was sometimes it's easier to give birth than to resurrect. And I think that's quite true. So I think having the right people on the bus is going to be very important, especially from the leadership, especially from the top down. And I think that's going to be really important. I think also when we're talking in a world that is waffling on their embracing of diversity and inclusion. What I mean by that, from a complete thing, we do have to take a look at our offerings in HR, because some of those things have been very, very traditional. And they're not necessarily promoting happiness. And I couldn't agree with you more in terms of that's what I love about the next generation and my sons as well, is that they're really looking for happiness, where I was allowing somebody to dictate what happiness was to me. That was my next job or career. And I think we have to take a good look at a complete different set of HR offerings as to make sure that we're appealing to the best and the brightest, and the different age spectrum and cultural spectrum to make sure we're giving them offerings that is not rooted in very, very tunnel visioned, which was 30 or 40 years ago in terms of that. And to understand that this whole offering could be something that could make them happy and therefore happy on the bus. And I think that's where we're going to have to do. So it's a little bit more tailored, thinking outside the box, thinking a lot more diverse in terms of the offerings that we have as leaders. And I think that's a good challenge, but I think we're up for it.
Diego, 1 minute last words. I'll allow you to close this. And people only remember what you said last.
No pressure.
You're going to ask me the same question in the next panel.
Yeah. Oh yeah, got it.
Yeah, should I?
No, don't save your last words. So but summarize. What do you think? Do you think that we're on the right track? I mean, you think deeply about these things.
I think we're absolutely on the right track. This is also a matter of perception, as the typical discussion of whether you're net positive on technology or neutral, negative. The facts are there. I mean, what's been happening the past 150 years in the world is clearly positive in my point of view. So. Yes, I believe we're on the right track. Yes, I believe these discussions and this connectedness helps. And yes, I think we're still going to be talking about this in a couple months, weeks, years' time. But I'm trying to translate how it is in English, but in Spanish it's ya viene lo bonito. The good things are coming.
Okay.
Good things are coming.
That's a great way to end this. Join me in thanking these fantastic people. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. You're fantastic.
Esta es segunda llamada. Segunda llamada. Esta es Tercera Llamada. Tercera Llamada. Comenzamos.
Okay, everyone. Wow. It's time for the tested trick of starting to talk to get people to come in. I'm a professional. Yeah. I'll walk around asking questions. Hello, welcome in. Come on. I think there are more seats. We've got to squeeze together. Perfect. Thank you for that. Welcome in. It's time. It's time for a firecracker, really. The closing panel. Great stuff. Fantastic. Welcome in. Yeah, exactly. I just said, John, this is the tested trick of starting to talk to get people to get in. I think it'll be good. It's a success already. I just made the joke that people only remember what you said last. So this is now a big responsibility on this closing panel. This is what we're going to. This is a parting message of a 2-day fantastic event here at Universidad de Libertad, and I cannot wait. Leading this panel, which we call Strategic Outlook for this year, and it's really a closing argument for change and transformation, leaning toward the optimistic side, I hope, but I trust these people. So I'm very proud to introduce to you the closing panel of this fantastic event. Moderator John Fischetti, the chair of FTC Higher Education Transformation Center. Daniel Solar, Executive Director for the FTC Emerging Talent Initiatives. Juan Hector Algares, Head of Institutional Relations at Kia, Mexico. And Art Markman, Chief Academic Officer, Minerva Project. Welcome. No, sorry. Are we missing someone? Yeah. Diego Preto, Rector from EBC. Wow.
Gracias, Daniel. And good afternoon to our wonderful friends here at this amazing university and to all of you who have been here for this conference. It's our honor to be with you today. And we're going to mix this up a little bit in that our panel will give some words of wisdom from some prompts that they didn't even know they were going to be asked until about 4 minutes ago. And then we want to save a few minutes to have it open up, particularly for any of you in the audience that would like to ask questions related to the issues that have come up of this set of experts right here, particularly our students. Think of a question, or Danielle's going to ask you to give an answer. So we want to give you a chance because we haven't had that chance in these sessions. Any of you sitting in the back, you may be very comfortable. There are a few seats here and a few people who are chilly enough they'd like to get cozy, if that's okay. So let's start this off. I'm going to ask a question in a minute for a rapid fire answer about the problem or the issue or the idea you think that's popping in 2026 that might be different than last year. So you have about 30 seconds. What's most on your mind that's emerging in the work that you do and the place you are, all right? To set this up, would some of you consider yourself time poor, that you're all very busy? Has everybody here just got the whole next week free to do whatever, or are you like, it's busy? Most people are busy. Almost everybody complains to me they don't have enough time. I would like you to look at your calendar, your diary, or whatever you call it for next week. Look at the meetings that are already there. Are there any of them where the answer is already yes? Before you meet, we know we're going to do this. I'd like you to cancel those meetings. Just don't go, or get the boss to cancel it, or you are the boss, so cancel it. I'd like to look at your diary again for the meetings where you know the answer is already no. We have no way this could happen, and everybody's just going to leave angry. Cancel those meetings. I just got you back half your week or more. Diego, it might be your whole week. Yeah. Now I want you to come back with those same people and organize a meeting about what you're going to innovate, what you're going to do differently, what you're going to get excited about from what you've learned at this conference. What 1 or 2 takeaways? And we want to guide you for a few minutes on how can you motivate the innovation we need to develop the future talent and keep some of the current talent fresh. And inspire us to be very optimistic that we can do this, not that we can't or it's too hard or they won't let us. All right, that's the theme here, is how do we achieve our strategy? How do we accomplish our goal? So to start this, we want every one of our panel members just to jump in. if there's an issue emerging this year that feels a little different than last, what would that be? Diego, let's start with you, sir.
For me, it's culture.
Yeah, that's the short chart. Good job.
No, and I mean, to echo something that I think I heard throughout the day, I mean, I think the really leaning into human-centered exploration is going to be crucial this year.
Yep. Those are both fantastic. What you got?
Well, for our company, I would say that it will be getting really creative ideas for my peers and my colleagues, because finally it seems that everybody has access to a cell phone and just can get an easy answer from AI and just think that they know everything. But actually there are certain answers that we don't get, because actually my recommendation for you that you are leaders with your companies is ask your peers, your students, just to get a walk to your local library and get new ideas, because there are certain sources that are just closed, and you will get very interesting answers into finding the solutions that you require for your daily problems. There's something magic about just going elsewhere from technology and finding the right solutions for you to in order to create innovation.
Yeah, fantastic. Be open to new ideas, Danielle.
Yes, and I would even say for leaders to go down on something like, go down to the floor, go down and talk to your entry-level workers, because they have amazing ideas, right? And amazing little nuggets of information. I think I'd double down. I feel like last year was a lot of or last 2 years, right? AI, right? What? Okay, that's enough. That's enough. We've now defined, and all of our emerging leaders too around the globe, and also that I've met here in Mexico, AI does not come up in our conversations anymore. And when we're talking about entry-level careers and work, what they're most focused on is how are we building the human-centric skills. Let's define those, and then let's understand how we build them within university and/or with industry. The question I just came up there would be kind of interesting. How many classes are held at companies? I know that you visit. And industry comes in, but how many actual classes are taught in the company?
So if you think about these answers, isn't that interesting that maybe 5 years ago it wouldn't have been the notion of culture or human-centric, or the opportunity to maybe get out in the community and visit, take in new ideas, and then to listen to your colleagues, listen to the staff, be on the boots on the ground, as 4 hot topics, different than you might have thought at this conference, in developing future talent, which the human potential, that's pretty inspirational to me, because I think we could do all of those things.
Yeah.
So each of you are pros. You know that slang word for professional. You know what you're doing. You're guiding change and leading organizations and have success. What's a pro tip for this esteemed crowd that if you got down into that sort of abstract of it, that you would suggest, and it's hard to give all the wisdom of a career and doing your thing, to guide that journey toward accomplishing your goal, accomplishing your strategy around the nature of the topic of this session? What motivates you that you've learned, and if you include that magic spice in all of your food?
So it's a tie between 2 things. One is I wore these socks on purpose today. It's important not to be afraid to feel a little bit like an alien in the terrain that you're walking into. If you're really going to innovate, you've got to be willing to do things differently, where people are going to look at you like you're from outer space. So I brought these socks for just such an occasion. But related to that is also to remember that the perfect is the enemy of the good. And I think a lot of times when we want to innovate, we're so worried that what we're going to launch isn't going to be perfect, that we're actually afraid to take that step. And I think if you're willing to have people look at you a little bit funny, and you're willing to try something that is still a little bit half-baked, then you're really ahead of the game.
Fantastic example. I love that. We're going to come back to those issues maybe in your questions as well. Diego, what do you think?
So one tip, I would say open up your belly. That would be my biggest tip. And it goes back to the point where if you open up your belly, you start being a bit more relaxed. And why I say that is because there's a lot of inputs coming your way, and you need to have some distance between everything that's coming your way and your reaction, okay? And the way to do that is take the time to open up your belly, okay? That's the one tip, just top of mind. But trying to delve into a bit more, I kind of blurted out culture I thought it was just like a one-word answer, but if I can just take the space and go into it a bit more, the reason why I said that is because if you try to identify culture as maybe a piece of values, rules, incentives, this and other, many of those I think are changing nowadays. And that's why I believe that we need to look into those values, into those rules, into those incentives, and come back to a point where we can redefine them to the point that we find a new path that will make our companies go to where we want to go.
Yeah, fantastic example. Thank you. Juan?
Well, I have a very good one. Asking for help. Asking for help and advice to somebody that you know, somebody outside from your inner circle, from a different company, even your competition, it doesn't matter. Just send a small email to somebody that you don't know. You will find everybody's emails around the internet. Just send an email asking for help about a certain, and just ask for a meeting in a very ludic way, like, let's have a coffee. Let's make it simple. I can go to your place. I can drive half an hour to you. So we can create time, especially because this time that you are investing is going to be really good for your success. Because when you are seeing that all the problems are the same for everybody, and when you are asking for answers, you will find that some people have achieved more knowledge than you into the problems that we experience daily. So it's very good that you take the time and recognize that we don't have the solution for everything. And it's good just to ask to somebody else from a different sector, from a different company, even your own students. And also, more than just asking for help, you need to be aware that people are going to answer you, they are going to help you. You start looking outside. So when somebody comes to you and asks for help, it's very good because you're going to get answers for all the things that you have in your mind at the same time.
Amazing. I was thinking of up and down the supply chain, depending on whether you're small, medium, or large enterprise in education that's an equivalent of that, to make sure you're in touch with that, because the talent shortage is real at all levels of any kind of business. And therefore, listening to the struggles that might not be obvious, whether it's in shipping or whether it's in marketing or whether it's in the big idea for the next big, whatever it is, listening to that can also give you more savvy about what's next. And maybe you avoid the issue of having argument or having problems because you've listened. A beautiful example.
Yeah,
Danielle?
and I'll bookend being brief, which builds on this, is be humble, be curious, but also be bold.
Right. Now, this gives you the chance to take this wherever you'd like and go deeper. In your career, could be a current example or a past one, an example of where we needed to make a change, we needed to innovate. Tell us a story about making that happen. How did you lead a team or your shadow to make that happen? And what were the key ingredients to the other side of that it actually seemed to work out? Obviously, you had to change again after that. But for this group, we have lots of folks at different stages of their career. But most of you here see a lot of your career left. How did you guide that change? What advice would you give to those who are already in the prime of their career or hoping to be with success? We're going to steal your IP right here. Juan, you want to start that?
Well, before being an academic, being a teacher or working in a corporation, I used to be a public servant. And in Mexico, being a public servant is not the same thing as being a public servant in the US, especially because we change of president every 6 years and you will have a change of people. So I experienced that in terms of my own team. I got people just fired because we didn't have any more budget or they were not part of the same political party ruling the country. So I experienced a lack of talent in my own team and losing people. So one good recommendation that I will give you is, first, in order to resolve this problem, I hired people who were students. I didn't pay them anything, but I gave them complete access to all I was doing. I was presenting them as part of the staff of my company, giving access to all the files, and I was the only one who was held accountable for all the results of my own team. Yeah. And what I learned is that these people, these very young, talented individuals, they were performing even better than people who were paid in the payroll. So what I'm going to give you as my own experience is just we need to trust people, empower people, and know how to delegate. And when you empower people, people will be really respectful when you give them an opportunity just to shine. That will be.
Yeah, and that seems easy. So how, can you give us an example of someone who doesn't feel that they could be empowered, how you empowered them? You can't just say, you're now empowered. How did you do it?
First, it's not only, oh, you can do it. No. You need to give them the right tools. First, you need to show people how to fish. Yes. You tell them, this is information, this is the way I do it. Now, do it for yourself. For example, if I wanted to contact a CEO from a company, how would you do it? I will ask themselves. How will you contact somebody you don't know? You see, emails in corporations are the same. For example, what will be mine? Juan.algraves, and what are the other emails? Just send an email to them and try different names. Try Juan, Hector, just you'll find just the initials. But it works. But it's just that we lost our creativity into doing things, and it was a very easy solution. So what I like to do as a teacher is tell students how to be more proactive, how to get more involved into the real world, because it seems that with technology, we are all becoming more introverts. So we need to bring this back into people making real contact with humans.
Yeah, that was a really good example and a practical one of stepping out of the box and just going for it, and knowing that the worst case is they don't respond.
Yeah.
Right?
I know you have it.
Yeah. Danielle, does an example come to mind you'd like to share?
I think over the past couple of months as building the fellowship program, I think it's really listening. There's a lot of listening, and I'm quite an extrovert. At least that's how I am positioned in these types of spaces, right? But knowing when to not say anything and just take it in. I think co-designing with students and taking information in from students, and then knowing that where your skills are and where they are not, right? So like I'm very good at synthesizing information or operationalizing things or trying to connect the dots between things. Clearly this is an ocean wave that I'm connecting dots of. But I think that knowing what you're good at, so as building the fellowship program, getting a lot of voices at the table from different cultures, generations, I think building the program with students in mind, but also with students to really understand what they feel like they need, whether that's true or not. I mean, then I can go talk to the leaders and say, is that actually what you're seeing? Is that actually what you need? How can we create something that really does bridge this gap, right? So I think that it's not a real concrete example that I know you're kind of looking for here, but I think as you build a program or as you're trying to bridge the gap between academia and industry, knowing what you know, knowing what you don't know, listening a lot, and co-designing with all parties.
So the key to almost all the unsolvable problems that I see is collaboration. And Danielle, I think, was pointing to that, and I bet our couple of colleagues next will share that what looks insurmountable, the person sitting next to you has one of the numbers on the bike lock that can unlock it for you. So it's going to be together. And most of these things that some people call wicked problems, that second Wicked movie wasn't very good, so I don't think they're wicked problems. Right? I think these are actually opportunities, and we're going to get to that in a minute. Did an example come to your mind of how you managed this change that others may have said, oh, that's too hard, and you did it?
Yeah, so I've just started in my new role as Chief Academic Officer at Minerva Project. Before that, I was, in the last 5 years, I was our Senior Vice Provost for Academic Affairs at the University of Texas at Austin, and we were doing a lot of curricular reform. And of course, we have lots of people in higher education here, and of course, when you start talking about curricular reform, everyone ducks and says, no, the faculty are going to revolt on this. And so a lot of, one of the things that we did initially, we did two things. I think one was we really engaged our students quite a bit because the students were clamoring for this, and I think that our faculty who might otherwise have thought, well, this feels like a lot of work, are much less likely to sit when confronted with several students who are all saying this is really what we need to want to then be willing to say, well, it's too much work for me to do the thing that you as the students need. And so I think it was finding that leverage point to really create an inflection where we would then get faculty more on board as a partnership. I think that was a piece of it. And then to return to something I said earlier about the perfect being the enemy of the good, I think whenever you're trying to reform something, you think, well, I've got to get this exactly right. And so what I told the teams that I was working with on was, look, let's just get a B-, right? You know, we'll fix it. You know, you don't have to be right initially, you just have to be right in the end. And I think a lot of times what happens when you engage in these kinds of projects is people get paralyzed by the thought that there are so many things that I don't know the answer to. And as soon as you say it's acceptable to get a B-, a B- is actually a perfectly reasonable passing grade, then they let their guard down a little bit and are willing to launch something that's imperfect. And as long as you then build into that the ability to collect some data, to find out how well things are going, and to diagnose what needs to be fixed to turn that B- into an A, then you really are on the road to doing something that can ultimately be quite successful.
I love what you just shared. The way I kind of say it to folks is, you said it better, we often judge the future of a change by perfection. Yet the current status quo is really clunky. So we have a double standard. We don't like the way it is, but we're worried it won't be perfect in the future, but we know we need to change, and that's a different way to say it. So you're going to have to step up, and if you trust the team, and we come to the notion of the listening and the other answers that Juan and Danielle have shared, that gives us the motivation to get going. I use a metaphor of finding roundabouts instead of stoplights, because quite often most of the change process puts that stop sign or stoplight, and we back up traffic. Mexico City, roundabouts may not be the right example because they're kind of crazy, but in a more rural area, a roundabout actually makes traffic flow easier. There's fewer accidents. I saw a fender bender just on the way out here, so I think my example's falling flat. But the roundabout, in a theoretical model, you slow down and then you can speed up. So how do you slow down to speed up?
And by the way, I just want to capture something really important here, which is roundabouts don't decrease the number of accidents, they decrease the number of fatal accidents. And that's actually really critical, right? Is that by slowing people down and getting them to actually think clearly about what they're doing, you actually create fewer things that are fatal to the project, even though you may create, some hiccups along the way, and those hiccups turn out to be productive.
Fantastic. Great follow-up. Be quick, but don't hurry. Yeah. Try that at home. Diego?
Yeah, so the challenges that I've been facing trying to innovate within a business school, apart from what's already been said, is that, let me take it down to the individual level, okay? First, and clearly there are mental roadblocks, and we've all seen them. And just to pinpoint one this year, since we're in Soccer World Cup year, and for those of you who are Mexicans, maybe make a slight detour in your memory to see what happened the past 2 World Cups in Mexican history. Okay, it's gruesome to remember, but we were in the round of 16. I don't know if you guys remember, against Argentina, both times. We had a great first time, and then what happened? We crashed, right? So there's clearly an essence of your own bias of your limits, that I think you have to delve into it at each person's individual level if you want the group to succeed, okay? And the other one is getting to a point where, or getting away from concepts, because we start talking about, we want to innovate, we want to do this, we want to do that, but I've found that most of those concepts are really alien to the individual, and it's a bit more effective if you start where is your starting point and what's that castle that you want to build on an individual level, because each one of us have a different history and each one of us are going to a completely different place. But until you have those conversations with each one of your team members, then you can really start aligning. And once you start aligning, then I can get into the culture aspects and all that. And that's what's been helping, at least at the EBC, to create the momentum to start creating change. So. Yeah.
Fantastic example. And I'm thinking of, from those of you who work in organizations where you're part of HR or have dealt with HR, it seems since COVID, because I think it made us worried. It was nothing in the mRNA vaccine or anything. We just are grumpy or complaining first. If you have the culture switched, people start coming in anticipating the positive or the possible, as opposed to getting worried all the time. That leads to fewer sick days or fewer complaints. Some of you work in complaints. Complaints have just gone over little normal things. In other organizations, they almost have none, like schools that have adopted AI and have no cheating. So I love where you're taking it. It's about culture and creating that positive environment. It's a beautiful way to, sounds easy, so you might need some more pro tips from Diego before you leave here today. Let me ask you a question about how you and your team, or when you've seen it happen, because some of you may be in organizations where now it's still emerging, people start the laundry list of the challenges or the problems. In higher education today, the government regulation, the unions, the fact that our staff is not really ready for it. There's the unknown change that's coming after the change we don't quite understand yet, and the one we didn't answer from yesterday. And I don't think everybody likes one. And how do you create opportunity out of the challenges? Because I think each of you is successful as a leader and as a human, because you say, yeah, I know what we can't do, but here's what we can do. Which of you would like to start there with an idea to help this esteemed audience leave today better educated on this topic?
I'll give you my first reaction. Diego. Yeah. So there's this, I don't know if you guys have felt it at some point in your life, that when you win something, when you do actually go out and win something, you look around and you kind of see, like, why am I standing in first place and the other guy's in second place? And there really isn't that much of a difference between you and the guy that's next to you. What you do find is that at least you saw that there was an open space. Somebody had to win, and you were willing to be that person. So trying to connect from the individual level to finding opportunity where there's challenges, I would switch and see there's always opportunity in being the innovator, the best, the this, the other. It's just a matter of you recognizing that you can be an agent in that. So I just would react by saying that identifying your own perspective or your place as an agent in any of the challenges and any of the opportunities is the first place to start.
Yes, amazing. Thank you. Art?
Yeah, and I think it's really important to overcome the paralysis of not knowing how to start on something. And I think it's an analogy for me is, if you go to a music concert and you watch a musician play an amazing solo on their instrument, you think to yourself, well, I could never do that, because what you're watching is the culmination of their entire life's work that got them to the point where they're standing there. And you're not seeing the first day that they picked up their instrument when they sounded terrible, and you're not seeing all of the practice, and you're not seeing all of the pieces. And when you realize that every successful project that you've ever seen started with somebody trying something, started with error, started with learning, started with engagement, that those are the pieces. So when you're facing something, a challenge, and you're not sure exactly what to do, taking a step, engaging in something is the important part. A year from now, when you've succeeded, people will go, wow, that's amazing. I don't know how you did that. And it's because they're going to see the final product. And really, that final product is the end result of a tremendous number of smaller steps.
Fantastic. You got me thinking about having that innovation mindset. And where is that on the national exam to graduate from high school, or the entrance exam to university, or even on the bar exam.
I often say in the United States that you know, our education system aims to create bright, creative graduates by making sure that every student gets the same answer on the state test.
Yeah. So there's so much to do there around the schooling process and the empowerment. And this university really is about empowering learning through the real experience, but also taught by and surrounded by experts who have applied it in the real world. And that connection isn't necessarily part of our DNA, because to do that, you have to have confidence by practicing it earlier, just like the musician. Great example. Juan?
Well, the first advice I will say is building momentum. Because even for us that we are speaking right here, we were not born naturally as speakers. We are not all extroverts. It's just that we had the opportunity to grab a mic, and we found out that after you do it so many times, you have actually something to say to people about your own experience. And the second advice I will give you is thinking outside of the box. For example, when AI just started in academics, in my school, they were telling teachers that we should punish students for using AI. Yeah. Academic dishonesty, which I found that to be something very, you just name it, it's terrible for an institution. So what you can do is just think outside of the box. What we can do, let's go back in time, and people used to present just students by writing. Why we don't enforce that? And yes, allow students to use AI for their daily and their reports, but also to try to think outside of the box and just put an exam.
Yeah.
Just like the old times.
Yeah, amazing. That's so good. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm not going to digress too much, but continue on this. I'll call it even a culture of collaboration, just to give a good, alliteration. But I think when you talk about, what sets you apart, what makes you different, I love the framing and giving people the onus to say that's my superpower, because that's a very positive way to say that I have a superpower and I might not have identified it yet. But to get to a point of maybe collaboration, I think it's also okay to message that it's okay to also surround yourself with people who are kind of like you first, right? We all tend to go towards like to like, right? Like, you don't have to go into a group where you feel uncomfortable yet, but also know that when you define yourself outside of the group, that you can go towards that. Does that make sense? I know it's in my brain, it makes more sense. If anybody can put it more clearly, it's like, yeah, everyone has a specific superpower, whether that's because of your lived experience, because of your academic experience, because of your job experience, or whatever that might be. Everyone has their own superpower. And it's okay to surround yourself with those who have the same superpower, but also when you find yourself wanting more and needing more, that's when you have to kind of take the leap into the really cold pool. Does that make sense?
Amazing.
Like when you think about collaboration and starting and then growing and allowing space for that.
Amazing. That may also mean you have to require to reach in to keep yourself fresh and yourself inspired. And this is the final formal question before we open it up if any of you have questions in the audience. But how do you turn that on yourself to be the best of yourself? We all are trying to be the best version of ourselves, but by Friday that might be hard to do, or it's rainy, or it's cold, or it's Monday, or it's holidays, or it's whatever, hot, or how do you keep yourself inspired to inspire others? Juan, you gonna go first?
Mine is very silly. I adopted a dog. So every day I want to be that person that my dog believes I am.
That may be it. We might have a mic drop right there. That was pretty good. You can borrow that at home. Danielle, anything come forward?
I mean, I'm trying to think of a
Well,
situation.
you run and stay fit?
I do, yeah,
As a working mom with 2 kids,
Working
you
mom,
find
2
the time to
very young
get out
children.
there on the trail in the woods outside of Boston?
Yes, that is one of the things I do quite often, is making time for myself and, trying to put myself in uncomfortable situations where I don't know the answer. And that is actually in forums like this. I guess you'd call it imposter syndrome. Like, why am I sitting up here? All I've done is very well taken the knowledge that I've learned from other people and consolidated that information. Yeah, some of it's original thought, but a lot of it's amazing things that I've heard over the years. And again, I just connect the dots between the things. That's my superpower, right? But being in uncomfortable positions or in uncomfortable places has gotten me the dots that I need to connect.
Really good.
Right?
Yes. Fantastic.
I'll jump in. So one of the things that I've tried to do frequently is to try some brand new thing that I've never done before, as a reminder that A, I can still learn things, B, that I'm not good at everything, even though I'm good at some things, and C, that I can that when I expose myself to new things, that it often changes my perspective on lots of other things. I'll tell a quick story, which is in my mid-30s, for example, I took up the saxophone, because why not? And it's had a profound impact on my life in lots of ways, but on the first day, I played it for about 25 minutes after I had my first lesson until I couldn't feel my lip anymore. And at that time, my oldest son was 7, and he came walking out of his bedroom the next morning, and he said, "Were you playing your new saxophone last night, Daddy?" And I said, yes, I was. He said, "I thought so. It sounded like you were moving chairs in the kitchen." And I think it's really important to have that reminder that you're not actually good at everything.
Yeah. Can I just build on that quickly? Because I think it's also giving yourself the grace to, if you try something new and you're not at a time in your life to continue with said thing. Because I did a ceramics class with my girlfriends last winter, right? It was 3 hours every Thursday night, and I am not a patient human. Do you know how long it takes to clean up the wheel and the stuff around it? And then, you're trying to do the thing, and then it falls off half the time, and then you end up with this terrible looking bowl. It doesn't even look like a bowl. And I was like, this is great. This is reminding me that I'm not the most patient person. And at this point in my life, I do not have the capacity to become a more patient person. I will finish this workshop or this class, but I won't do it again. But perhaps I will try it later in life when I feel like I have more space and time to become a bit more of a patient human. So okay to say no thank you also after trying new things.
That's right. Yeah. Art can teach you saxophone. There you go.
Yeah, so in my case, typically when you think for the future, no, what do I want now? Should I try this? Should I try that? And what's been helping me is kind of looking more towards being thankful of what I've already have, and that feeling of, well, the good old days are today. Remember that time when it was the first conference that you sat up and spoke, or it was the first time that you were in a leadership position. Kind of appreciating what's already been happening. That helps me a lot to at least keep grounded, and also just motivate myself or pat myself on the back at the end of the day to say, like, yeah, you're already doing some things that are great. Be thankful for them. And that's what's kind of inspires me then to say, like, oh yeah, well, I can look at something else as well, And other than that, I plant trees. So just don't talk to anybody. Just spend time alone and recalibrate.
I think what we've hopefully done in the last little while is express and exude the humanness of great leaders in different parts of different organizations with different career paths, all about the hopeful and the positive that can come. And most of what we gave you was like a recipe for chicken soup that didn't need your grandmother to be around. You could do this, right? You got to want to do it and not just get torn up by the day-to-day and the wear and tear. We have time for just a few questions here in the 5 minutes left in this session. Let me just check with our team. Do you have a mic that might roam around, or are we good with that, do we think?
I can do it too. I'm fine.
Yep. Does any of you want to ask a question to this esteemed panel that comes from your experience over the last couple of days or from anything you've heard in the last few minutes?
All right.
Thanks to everybody for your flexibility and hopping up the steps.
Should I start?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Isaac Limus. I'm the director of Quantum Innovation Strategy, a consulting firm in London. I'm also a professor of innovation and strategy in Monterrey Tech here in Mexico. And first of all, congratulations for a very interesting discussion. And my question, actually I was having a conversation earlier with Danielle. So the thing I see with my clients and students is that I think nobody's maybe ready to recognize that knowledge is not any longer the primary asset, and rather, the capacity to process with energy and uncertainty is something that we need now. And you have also already mentioned collaboration, culture, and other things that will help with that. So my question is, what do you think about this view, this perspective, and what would you recommend to organizations or people in order to evolve towards what's coming?
I can answer it a little bit.
For these questions, why don't we just have one or two of us answer so we can get to a few more questions, if that's all right.
I had because I know that a lot of our leaders here, well, most of our leaders were not part of our student workshops. And in one of the workshops, our students were able to either ask questions or get the perspectives from talent acquisition and HR leaders, right, around what they're looking for in talent. And I will just tell you one of the examples of how do you find the person who will take initiative, right? Because that's what a lot of leaders or that's what a lot of companies are looking for. And there's a great example, very tangible example of, I want the person who's not going to walk by the piece of trash that's on the floor. I want the person who's going to pick it up and put it in the trash barrel. So I think that, that's a trait that can be very hard to define or that comes across in an interview process to build companies or to build emerging leaders or who you want to select. But I feel like that's such a tangible example of how you can kind of discern some of these human capabilities and qualities within your companies. Like, who's taking that initiative? I'm not saying you should plant pieces of paper on the floor during an interview.
Good answer.
But
Thanks. I'm going to speed us up and be a little rude. Let's go to another question. And I'm happy to talk further about that. Yes, sir.
I'll stop.
Hello, I'm Jorge Ceja Moran, and I would love to know what's your perspective from Mexico. Like, you guys can be an outsiders, so why don't you tell us what do you think about our culture, our employees, our employers, all of that. Thanks a lot.
Well, I will say, for example, being here at Libertad, the emphasis on skills, on really trying to understand what is the essence of an education and how does that sustain me through a lifetime, right? I think that what makes somebody successful, what makes somebody innovative is not something that they learn in a particular class at a particular time. It is the accumulation of what they learn and do over the lifetime, which means that you have to be continually willing to build that set of skills, to build that desire to learn, to build that desire to try. And I'm seeing that in my discussions across all of the various people that I've talked to over the last couple of days from a variety of the different universities that are represented here. And I think that's a really wonderful thing that is emerging out of Mexico right now.
Fantastic. Great question. Mexico is a land of opportunity built on an amazing set of historical traditions with a culture that is eclectic and beautiful, with opportunity to overcome all of the inequity that every country faces, with all of the talent. But it's going to take a different kind of teacher and a different kind of school, a different kind of professor and a different kind of university, a different kind of boss and a different kind of organization to not perpetuate inequity. Make equity and improving the human condition the result. And then we need fresh water, we need less crime, we need everybody educated. But if we live our values, this country is a global leader right now, just about ready to seize that moment. But it's up to us to not let the inequities of the past get in the way of the opportunity of the future. And Mexico is a world leader already in that potential. Are we ready? Can we do it? And from the young people I've met who are the students here, the answer is 100%. We may be out of time. Oh my gosh, I know some of you had great questions. I apologize we can get there. Let me wrap this up and turn it back to Daniel then. So I started our session off with the notion of time poorness. Everybody I talk to says I'm busy. When I tell them you're paid to be busy, why are we all so busy? Why don't we have the time to innovate? Why don't we have the time to take a beat and breathe? Why don't we have the time to collaborate and do all the things this amazing panel has done? My phone told me last week, Daniel, that I was on my phone 6 hours and 19 minutes a day. That's more than I slept. I was on my phone. And I started to think, was that good or bad? Because my phone is my personal assistant. I have nobody I pay to be my assistant. ChatGPT could be that. It knows I like green tea. But I started to say, some of that's I'm at the bank. I don't go to the bank. The phone's my bank. I can talk to my son. I call him up. I'm able to figure out who's going to win the Super Bowl from the odds. And I'm rooting for the Patriots to win the Super Bowl this week, for those that follow American sports, because I lived in Boston, as Daniel does, for 6 years. I do all my life with my phone. I also watch YouTube, and I have it on when I'm running. I'm listening to things. That still leaves me pretty bloody over 6 hours and 19 minutes. I think there's at least 2 hours I'm wasting time. Oh, it's my newspaper, too. I think each of us have 2 hours a day we can do some of the things we talked about today. Take a short course. I'm not sure you can build pottery that doesn't look like a bowl, but I think we have the time, if we get off of our algorithm and say, what can we do to connect with other humans, to innovate, in work or out of work? You probably have 2 hours a day. You could self-educate or be part of something formal. And we could stop complaining, or maybe take a nap because you're sleeping too little like I might be. Let's find the time to take the knowledge of the future talent that we've learned here in the last couple of days. Make it happen. I gave you back half your week next week with meetings that we're already going to say yes or no. Do that. And now I've given you 2 hours a day to find your next passion. Daniel, it's an honor to have been here with these amazing colleagues. I hope you take the time, as we have a mingling opportunity here coming up, to say thank you to Diego, to Art, to Juan, and Danielle, and to FTC and this amazing university for bringing us together, for what will give us the chance to make the future happen, not just let it happen. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you all. Thank you. Yeah, it's okay. Come on. Give me. I need some more airtime. Thank you. Thank you. Wow. John always says what I'm going to say, but better. That's a real problem. I know what you're all thinking. You're thinking, this Daniel guy, surely he's the perfect human being. But I'm not. One thing I want to correct, Diego here, Petro. Diego, I have to say, so Diego here is a brilliant individual. He comes on, first session, I get his title wrong. I'm thinking, okay, can't get any worse than this. And then I forget to introduce him. So, Diego, I will spend years trying to rectify and make it up to you. Thanks for being here. Thank you also to the annual partners of FTC, Lightcast, Magnet, Biotalent, Kane, and TMU. I don't think anyone's missed it, but Future Talent Council is an ecosystem effort. And it would not be possible without the brilliant ecosystem of individuals and organizations and obviously members that we have. So thank you so much for that. Also, again, thank you to the brilliant team here at Libertad. Emma, Jose Carlos, Guillermo, Jorge, wow. And everyone that I've not mentioned, everyone that we haven't seen that has not been on stage doing, I mean, it's so incredibly clean here, such brilliant staff working with that, the kitchen, everything. So another round of applause for everyone that we haven't mentioned. Thank you. Also a shout out to the Minerva crowd. Minerva Project was the original connect between us and Libertad. So Sharon, Will, Ben, thank you for that. You've made it happen. To my team, Alexa, Amir, Danielle, Mats, John, Megan as well, thank you for putting up with my craziness. So thank you for that. You've been exceptional. I sort of don't need lifelong learning. I just need to try to keep up with them. That is my lifelong learning to some extent. Thank you to all that traveled here. Seriously, that you came far and wide from all over the world. And regionally, the time and the effort and the resources spent, we do not take that for granted. So thank you for that. We will try to make the most of that trust, and hopefully you get away from here with at least a couple of new connections and inspirations so that we can together take it from here and have some real positive impact. Thank you for that. Thank you for all your locals and for welcoming us to this beautiful, beautiful country. This was my first time ever in Mexico, and it's a new favorite place, and we are definitely looking to come back very soon. This is the beginning, not the end. These things does not solve themselves over an event, as we know, but we have to keep coming together, keep fighting the good fight. Now we have even more connections that can help us, even more resources to pull, and I think we can make it on behalf of us and everyone that comes next. If you want to keep, here's the QR code, thank you. They always save me. The event app you can keep being connected with. There you'll see all of our upcoming events, the content coming out of this event. I think you should connect with Libertad on all the social channels as well. That's a beautiful way to keep me in touch and knowing what other events are coming up and so forth. So please do that. I know that your next milestone, that's the cocktails. And that's, I'm not going to stand in the way of you and them. But I also want to really absolutely announce that we are so proud of being connected to Libertad, and we have all the intention, announcement formally, to make this an annual event here at Libertad in Mexico, so that we build a pinnacle event for Mexico and for the world. Thank you so much for that. Thank you for all your time. I'll see you at the cocktail in the bar. Thank you.